Zombies.
Athena whispered to me, don't believe in any more lies. Getting crazy on the moonshine. When you purple something, the little bits that you give to the goddess. Athena follows Odysseus around. She makes men fulfill their desires to be with the woman. Christened with aphrodisiac. Once you are out, producing the theoriac. Watch out, your brain will open up. Athena with the purple cup. Shoot you all up, the purple kush. You begin the place. Oh, magic is medicine. Wish you would. Shoot you all up, the purple kush. You begin the place. Oh, magic is medicine. Wish you would.
Welcome back to Lady Babylon. This is Ammon you tonight, and I am going to bring you zombies. Yes, I'm going to bring you zombies tonight. I'm very glad. I'm very glad to be able to teach the Bible like this. I don't know why nobody teaches this. Straight out of the Gospels, people. That's where I'm taking you tonight. Straight out of the Gospels. We are going to go back and look at Jesus, and we're going to see the zombies. I'm going to pull that out and show you. Be careful tonight. It may mess with your head a little bit. You may have a little too much of that reality. And speaking of reality, it's a real thing that people are critiquing. It's a real thing that people are now looking, thanks to you, satanic congregation. People are looking at Jesus and his naked boy and his title Christ. People are now looking at it. Why is that so important? It's important because they're meat, fresh meat. Okay, let's go to this first. Let's go to this first clip. And before we do, I just want to set this up for you. I want you to think of the back alley. You're in the back alley. It's too late. It's too late. You're in the back alley. And here are the back alley artists. And they're going to give it to you because you trust them. Are you ready? Are you ready? The funny thing is they go back to the same thing. They go back to the same thing that Ms. Tightbox went back to. Are you ready? Hit the first one, Chewy.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the Greek, and this dude is just flat out lying. Like, we're looking up, this is Mark in the Greek, and it says, and there followed him a certain young man having a linen cloth cast about his naked body, and the young man laid hold on him.
Yeah.
And so when we look at that word for cloth, it has nothing to do with penis.
No, and there's no innuendo in the text implying that at all.
The cloth. Okay, now I just want to stop. I want to say stop. This is going to be yummy, but watch what's going on here. Do you get the idea that maybe he is some kind of Greek expert, or at least trained in Greek? He's reading. Don't be too, right? You can smell the amateurish nature of it. You know what he's doing? He's reading to you, a polyglot. He's reading to you an English translation on the left with the Greek sprinkled on the right. And you know what that does not mean? That does not mean you're reading the Greek. Bring it up. Bring it up. Show him what it is. No, not that. Not that. The first. It's the first one. Yes, there we go. Bring it up. Yes. No, not Lucifer. Give me that. We'll bring him back, people. This is the verse they're referring to. This is the verse they're referring to. Peripeple menos sindona. That's the rag he was talking about, the sindona, the bandage. And what does that verb say? It says he's got it wrapped around something. Now, look, wait, you got to bring it back. Hey, get him out of here. Jesus, get out of here. Be gone. Look at that. I have the power of the devil. I can make Jesus go away. Hail Satan. All right. He's got something wrapped around him, right? Part of him is wrapped in this sindon, in this linen bandage. And look at the last two words. Where is it? Is it a cloak? No. It's on his private parts. It says it in Greek. You were not reading the Greek, sir. You were reading an English translation. I want you to look. Give it to me. Give him the nakedness right in his face. You know what this means? You know what this means, Christian? This means on your genitalia. On your genitalia. Covering his genitalia. Now, I hate to throw the genitalia in your face like that. No, I don't. No, I don't. I love doing it. Everybody here knows that, right? Oh my God! Play that clip again, one more time. Same clip. Chewy, play
I'm
it.
pulling up the Greek, and this dude is just flat out lying. Like, we're looking up. This is Mark in the Greek, and it says, "And there followed him a certain young man having a linen cloth cast about his naked body, and the young man laid hold on him."
Yeah.
And so when we look at that word for cloth, it has nothing to do with penis.
No, and there's no innuendo in the text implying that at all.
Of course, the cloth has nothing to do with the penis. Of course it doesn't. No, we're talking about where the wrap is positioned. And it says it explicitly. It's on his privates. Now, this is the thing that comes off when the kid runs away. And when he runs away, what is the author extremely careful to point out? Give me the next one. He's extremely careful to point out. It's a big deal. It's dirty stuff, Mark, right? Give me the next one. It's the next one. What is, yep, that's what he is down here. Keep going. Boom. Boom. Oh, God, I lost my track tonight. Our star charts are off. Our star charts are off. Well, it's okay. It'll come up. Let's go back to this is what he says. He says he runs away naked. Naked. Cover up that part. The bandage fell off, and the kid runs away naked. Naked. Now, people are always like, what? People are getting away now. What? Tell me about those kids that he's with. Okay, I'll show you the kids that Jesus is with, and I'm going to show you him spitting in their faces. I'm going to show him doing stuff that is degrading. Stuff that he has to say when he's in the midst of it. He has to say, pay attention and don't be tempted. What a pervert. What a pervert this guy is. You want to go to one of these things? Let's go to one of them. Give me the second clip.
He's trying to say that Jesus was involved in this. It's utter nonsense. Mm-hmm. The Christians were the one ending this man-boy nonsense, this evil, horrible pedophilia practices, and they're getting their ideas from what Jesus taught in the New Testament. And there's nothing in Mark 14 about Jesus having relations with any sort of young boy. This guy is just making things up that's not in the Greek, and he's pretending it's there to fit the conclusion he wants. He is not being honest.
Yeah. Anything else you want to look at from this clip, or should we move on?
No, it's from crazy town. It's utter nonsense. There's nothing nice I can say about what he's saying.
It's crazy. It's crazy. No, it's just ancient Greek, which you have no familiarity with. I can tell if I was considering whether or not to have you in my class with my raw new recruits, I wouldn't have you in that class. There's no way you can do those paradigms. I guarantee it. This dude does not have the capacity to sit around on his couch and read Greek, ancient Greek. He does not have it. And you can smell it. And Gnostic is going to come on in a minute and show you exactly what we're talking about. Exactly. Yeah, no, we didn't announce him. Sorry, Chewy. I just told Chewy for the first time. Sorry, Chewy. Yeah, Gnostic's going to come on. But he knows this is going to take me a while because I have to give you a picture. I have to provide you that actual dirt that comes through Mother Greek. And that's what I'm going to do tonight. Give me the first. It's okay. Give me the. Oh, you're going to send him. Oh, Chewy is sending him a link. Okay, go. Thanks. Boom. We did it. Now let's go. Give me this one. That's okay. Oh, yes. No, Lucifer. Oh, man. We almost forgot Lucifer. By the way, everybody, Lucifer says souls who dare use their immortality, souls who dare look the omnipotent tyrant in his everlasting face and tell him that his evil is not good. Thank you, Lucifer. Boom. Thank you, Lucifer, very much. At least you know who you are, right? That's the whole Bacchic initiation. You've got no idea. Those guys who are critiquing, they've got no idea. And it's funny, people who are looking into the mirror always throw the accusations that are coming to them. Dishonest? Excuse me. If there's one thing Satanic congregation knows, it's that Ammon is honest. Yeah, because he has a contract with the devil. You see, it doesn't work if I fabricate, because the fabrication is what? It's a pursuit of profit. It's a pursuit of profit. You want to follow the tyrant? You want that profit? Oh, you do. You know you do. You know you do. Praise Jesus. Hail Satan. Give it to me. What's that next one here, people? Just come along for the ride. I know it's going to be good because I gave it to you here. What? Oh, look, this comes from my master's thesis. Yeah, all these things I consider should be done for the child up to the 3rd year. Listen to this medicine from his birth, and especially that his nurse should observe no little care as to her food, drink, sleep, sexual life, and exercise in order that her milk may be of the best quality. Take it down. Look at that. Look at the way that they're using milk. Do you know that your sexual activity can influence the quality of your milk? If you didn't know that, you're behind these people. These are the cultures that we're dealing with, right? The level of sophistication. When you say Christ somebody, there's a verse everybody knows in Revelation, right? In the Apocalypse, talking about you must Christ your eyes. And everybody looks around, and these guys that critique look around because they don't know what that means. They don't know what's going on. Who is being dishonest? Look into the Bacchic mirror. Yes, Satanic congregation. Did you realize what we're doing? We're holding up the Bacchic mirror, and they're looking into it. It's gorgeous. Somebody must be spanked. Somebody. Who shall we spank? Who shall we spank tonight? This one is for all you evangelicals. This is to opening your eyes. You don't expect it. You don't expect the sting. He's a crazy man, Mommy. He is, Jimmy. Don't watch his YouTube, Jimmy. It's going to corrupt you. You give hemlock to the people who are corrupting the youth. Where's that kid? How old is that kid? Can we finally just nail down the age of this SOB that was with Jesus naked when he was arrested with a bandage on his hoo-ha? Let's just nail him down. Tonight, let's show him. Come on, bring it out. Let these people in awe. Let them have their awe. Give me the next one. Nope. Next one. Boom. In Ellis, Timocrates drank too much and went insane. What's the cause of his insanity? Black bile. He took the drug and was purged. Oh God, where are we? Are we in a hospital, or are we in some kind of temple with incense and fumigation and priests saying, don't eat or drink for so long? Much was purged from him. He produced phlegm and black bile throughout the day. These are the words of a Greek physician. Well, towards evening, he stopped the purging. Well, that's good. Give that guy another sponge. He had much pain in the purging. Sounds like it. He drank barley broth. I've heard that before. Sleep took him and held him all night until the sun was high. Isn't that nice? Do you know what happens when you give people drugs in rituals? You control. This is just the medicine. In sleep, he did not seem to those who were present to be breathing, but to have died. But he survived. Praise Jesus. Praise Jesus. Do you see what the Christ is doing? Do you want to see what the Christ is doing? Do you want to enter death and be born again? Do you want to enter that life? Do you want it? Do you want to have ionic life? Do you want to have it? Okay, here we go. Here we go. The Christians are sitting around because they have been poisoned and they are in a coma for more than 1,000 years. They've been fed a drug in their food. Fed a drug. Do you want to see it? Do you want to see it? As long as it's got some of that blister beetle, I'm willing to be here, right? Can you taste it? Give it to me. Give it to me. Give me what the Christians can't get. That one. Yeah. Demon possession. Daimonia. To be under the power of a daimon, baby. To suffer by a divine visitation. To be possessed. To be mad. Do you know what starts the ministry of that dude who was given the funds by the creeps who carry all the drugs? Do you know what he did? He battled demons. He fought demons. And he fought the king of demons in a little place called Void. Yeah. Don't touch his shit. It will make you see things. Okay? All right, shall we go in? Shall we go in? Is he summoned? I think he's summoned. Give me the next one. Give me the next one. I want to show you another word. Daimoniazo, right? Right? Oh my God. To be deified, possessed. by an evil spirit. Fantastic. Look at the tech on these people. Do you know there's no distinction between those demons that you see when you're Christed and the drug-induced hallucinations that the doctors write about? Huh. Interesting. Interesting. Can you smell the reality? You thought it was about, right? Demons. Demon be gone. Right? No. It's going to end up with us somewhere in the backwoods with Jesus and Mary, and somebody is going to be self-pleasuring and going to offer it to the other to eat. Where is that naked kid that is with Jesus? Where is that naked kid? You want me to show him to you tonight? You want me to show you from the Bible the naked kid that is with that creep when he is arrested, screaming, I am not a trafficker. Give me the next. Watch what happens, people. Watch what happens. Boom. You know what's wrong with this place? This house has bad demon. This line of people, it's got bad demons. What are these demons? Boom. Boom. These demons are going to be destructive. They're going to be destructive. And why are they around? Why are they around? Watch this. The children of Oedipus, right? The children of Oedipus are hiding it in time, in chronos. Yeah. And what do? They very unintelligently go astray. Huh. Okay, wait. What is it that I'm dropping when I run away from Jesus? You're dropping that linen wrap that we are using to celebrate Pascha. And there are others who are celebrating it just like us. And I am telling you, they're going to catch us. And I am going to get crucified. And all of you little bastards, you're going to run and you're going to deny everything. What happened to Jesus? Those are the words of Jesus. This is the love your mother or your neighbor like yourself guy. This is the peace, and love guy. Who is this guy? This is the guy that everybody says, oh, your philosophy was so good. This is him. He knows before he gets arrested with a naked kid, he knows. He even knows somebody is going to betray him. And he keeps telling them, you're going to get scandalized. You're going to get scandalized. You're going to get scandalized. Bring it up. Let's just show him the cult really quick. And tonight we're going to Matthew. I know Mark is going to be walking along with us, but we're going to Matthew. Next one. This is when he dropped it. He dropped the scene down. Now, wait a minute. Remember, the Christians that you just saw who were saying it's crazy, right? They think he's dressed. They think that bandage is like some kind of linen suit. And when the dudes go to grab him, they rip him out of his clothes. Yeah. Why did they put the word garment in that translation that dude just read, that he made you think he was translating the Greek, which he was not? because he inserted words, the translation inserted words that are not there, like body with naked. It's not there. Yeah. Trying to make sense of a very embarrassing situation. Yeah. Fantastic. What do we do, Mark? How much do we put in there? Right? We had the letter. Didn't you see the letter? Okay. And look, here's the verse with Neoniskos. And there was a certain Neoniskos assigned to Jesus, right? Because that akolutho verb there is, something you talk about with slaves or soldiers typically. So it's a kid that's assigned to him, and he has that scene done wrapped around his naughty bits, right? And they grab him, and the kid runs away, and he's naked. He's totally naked when he runs away. Give me the next one. What had Jesus just been saying? Jesus said to them, all of you, I'm translating, will be scandalized. All of you, this is going to go quick. All of you will be scandalized. Hold on, Chewie. We've got interceptors. Hit it. All of you, tell me, Jesus, once again, what do you mean I'm going to be scandalized? Remember, who's he talking to? It's the night or the early morning of his arrest. And he has been with 12 teenagers, right? From the age of 10 to about 18, 19, he's been with 12 of them, and he's been washing their feet without anything covering his private parts, because that's what he uses. He uses his friggin' underwear to wipe off their feet. And then he gets one of them to go nuts and leave after giving him something. After giving him something. And later, that kid, we've got one description of that kid dying from what appears to be poisoning. A perfect description, just like he describes somebody who's in the right and ODs on the blister beetle, using the same clinical description, right? You didn't see it. You didn't see it because you didn't go through the Greek. And that is the disgusting reality that you produce. You monists. You're an embarrassment. You know what I'm doing? I'm kicking down the doors of your stupid church, and I'm taking your Bible right out of your hands. Your guardians are stunned and on the floor because they are inadequately trained. Have a nice day. I'll have the Bible. Thank you. Give me the next one. Give me the next one. Boom. Watch this, people. Watch this. Where are we? Oh, if you're, listen, you remember this. I'm gonna start translating. You remember it. But listen, if your right eye scandalizes you, take it out, throw it out. Take it out and throw it out. Now, and you're like, wait a minute, wait, what? Okay. If that eye, which is dexios on you, what's happening is you just think positionally your right eye. I don't know. Maybe the guy's got a thing for right eyes. No, it's the terminology that the Magi are using, right? You always have on the right side for very specific reasons, just like you do on the left side. Cult-wise, that turns the tables, right? Woo! Here he's got, if your right eye is being a cause for scandal, take it out. Now, what the, I still don't understand it. Who's scandalizing what? What does it actually mean to be scandalized? What does it actually mean to be scandalized? Peter says to him, by the way, Peter says to him, even if everybody's scandalized, he says, not me, not me. What is that scandalized? It's trapped. Because poor Peter believes what he's been groomed to believe. Yeah. Right? What is that scandalized? It's trapped. Have you ever been trapped in a situation where people can look at you and say, naughty, naughty? This deserves the death penalty. Crucify him. That is what Jesus is talking to Peter, the teenage boy, about. All right, give me the next one. Give me the next one. People are like, oh, be quiet. Blessed is the one who isn't scandalized in me. You know what I mean? There's got to be some love between a groomer and his teenagers. You mean Jesus Christ was a groomer? Remember what he's trying to beat. It's why he doesn't say anything when they first question him in the religious court. He's not a laestays. That's what he says. Keep going, right? I'm not that one who traffics and sells children for sex, right? Now, is that a cult? Or is that a business? Or is that a mafia type deal? No. It's piracy. It's taking advantage sexually of other people for the sake of a cult. The cult is the power that keeps everything going, right? These people have all come to Pascha in order to what? To be killed and to be raised again, to be given that thanasimon, and to be raised from the dead. We're going to see them all. We're going to see them all do it. Okay? Be patient. Please with me. Please be patient. Give it to him. Give it to him. What does this one say? Oh my God. And then Jesus said to them, what? All of you are going to be scandalized. And what's going to happen? They're all going to turn and run away. He says, it's been written down, baby. It's been written down. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Give me the next one. Give me the next one. Boom. And what happens when Jesus finished all this blah, blah, blah? He said to his mathetais, wait, he said to his what? To his students. And I'm going to show you that age group. Look at that word, mathetais, Greek students. It's student. Oidate hoti mete duo hemeras to Pascha ginetai. Look, Jesus is getting set up here for the Pascha, right? He's getting set up for it. And he says, look, I'm going to be betrayed and I'm going to be crucified. So all night, this dude has been talking about, he's been bumming us all out, talking about you're all going to be scandalized. You're all going to reject me. You're all going to like denounce me and you're all going to get out of here, right? Okay. We're going into Pascha. So Jesus himself is performing the rite. He too is entering death and resurrection. Just not in the way the fairy tale made you think it was. Did you think the tomb was here he comes, walks in this body, it looks like it's glowing or something. Oh, yes. Is that what you thought it meant? That's not what the text says, baby. I got bad, harsh news for you. He was doing a rite that other people were doing. He was performing the mystery. And you can't say that it wasn't concurrent. It wasn't actually happening because the New Testament authors themselves say it was happening. Yeah. Have you ever sat on the throne of Satan? You know, there's a mystery of iniquity, and it's already at work. That's what they said. That's what they said. You want to see the mystery of iniquity? You want to see the Christ? Let me show you. Give it to me. Give it to me. Give it to me. The next one. What's one of the things? Okay, we're getting ready. Jesus is getting ready to go into his death cult, and he's going to be put into death. What's one of the tools they got around him? Look at that third word, the alabastron, right? The alabastron. And what is that? It's a very well-known tool. It's in antiquity. It's a dildo that carries the muron, or the combination of the oils and botanicals that are used in sex rites. And by rites, I don't just mean at your local church or your synagogue or your temple. I don't mean those kind of sex rites. I mean the ones that you do in the bedroom. The Greeks have been using this for a long time. Don't you know? You get oiled up with the aphrodisiac first. And it's conveniently shaped so that it can be applied. And they rub it. Why do they rub it? They remove the oil and they rub it, which the Christians always translate as break. Right? Like, you got the perfume, bam, I got to get into the perfume. Well, what do you mean? I got to break it open to get into it. That's how they picture it. That's how they translate it. Like Jesus sitting there. Mary Magdalene's got this vial that she can't open. So he's like, bam. And then what the hell? The ointment's all over the place. You idiot. Go to Aristophanes. You can see how it's used. It's amazing. So Jesus has already had his alabastron. And why did Mary give him the alabastron? It's drugs, people. Look at the next one. Look at the next one. And by the way, it pissed people off. And they said, Jesus said, what's this? You got some kind of grief. You got some kind of beef with the lady? He's talking to his students. Because they were like, you got some kind of beef with her? Give it to me. Why'd she do this? People, now I'm going to read the Bible for you for the first time. You evangelicals, here it comes. I'm going to read it to you for the first time. She took that myrrh, right? And what happened? He says, she put it all over my body for the sake of what? For the sake of entaphiasai, in order to put me in to the death state. He's already started the mystery ritual of Pascha. Okay. He's got the drugs on board. At this point, he is being Christed. Are you the Christ? You notice that? It's in the Gospels. They don't ask, are you the Messiah? Because that is fake. They ask in the Greek, are you the Christ? Yeah. The whole Messiah narrative is later and it's fake. It is a rabbinical bastardization and delegitimization of the Greek texts that are the Torah. Yes. And it's all in the language. It's all in the language, people. We had it the whole time. What the hell? What the hell? It's because things happen. If you ever talk to the oracle, you'll find out that things happen chronologically and that they can be engineered. Some things to be covered up and some things to be revealed. What are we doing now? We are revealing that beast. We're bringing that right back to you, which is exactly what our Byzantine monks said. We're bringing the Antichrist. Oh, the antidote. The antidote for Jesus. Isn't that weird? The antidote for Jesus is seeing what's actually going on. Okay. It feels good, doesn't it, with the anthropology? Every time you get one of these sources and you're like, oh, God, you're in rhythm. And you're like, oh, you're right there. Just keep going. Just keep going. You speed up a little bit. Just keep going. When you're reading these sources and it's feeding you. It's feeding you. Oh, God, and you can taste these scrolls. That's it. That's it. Give me the next one. Give me the next one. What can we glean out of this one? So it's late at night, remember, when Jesus is reclining with his 12 students. Now, I taught for many years out in wood and stone. And I never once reclined with my friggin' students late at night washing feet naked. Not once. But, that's what the cult stuff does, baby. And you understand why the Romans are trying to put this stuff out. Now, the guy in the clip said it was the Christians. Look, he said, can you believe? Listen to his fake world that he wanted you to buy just for a minute. Oh, those Athenians. Everybody knows about those Athenians. You know what I mean? He doesn't even realize that was what the Athenians said about the Spartans, right? Because this guy is not, he is a phony. He is a pseudo prophet, and he is a phony, and he's getting burned. He's getting burned just like other people are getting burned that Neil is going to bring you tonight, a special burning. Oh, I love it. I love it. Hail Satan. Give me the next one. Give me the next one. What's going on? We're eating. Right? What? Oh, God. What does he say to him? Hey, look, he says, Amen. Yeah, speak my word. Put my name on your tongue. Put my name on your tongue, you crucified moron. You know what that is, people? That amen at the end of the first line. You say, oh, I know, it's amen, brother. No, it's a magic phrase. It invokes power. Jesus is master of the fucking demons. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, excuse me. Get that one. Okay, there, it's gone. Jesus, YouTube, shh. I think I've heard other people say it once or twice. That's all we'll say it. Look at the amen. What am I saying to you? Someone's gonna. Now remember, you got 12 kids from like 10 to 12 age up to like 16, 17, 18 age. You got them there with you, and you've been giving them drugs. Oh, wait, I'm going to show you where he gives them the drugs. And he says, what's he saying? Amen. Amen. He's performing magic, brother. And what's he going to say? He's telling them the future. This is what stoned magi do. Now, this one is doing it with the boys. Okay? Finally, did we catch up? I felt it just click. Did you just feel it click right there? Just feel it click. Yeah, I know some of you are like, oh, I already had it click. Right? Be happy you got to click another time. You can get clicks all over the place. That's what life's all about. Get clicked. Love it. You know, that's why they want it. They want it, Chewy. They want it. I know you do. Give it to me. Give it to me. What happens? Right away when he says this, the kids all get upset, right? And they all start saying, look, it's not me. It's not me. Right? It's not me. Why? He's told them somebody's going to betray me. Right? It's not me. So watch what he does masterfully as they're coming under the influence. He says it's the one who's going to baptize his hand with me in the bowl. That's a literal translation. And when I say baptize, I mean die. That bowl contains psychotropic dye. And he forces Judas to enter the rite with that little bit of poison. That little bit of poison. Do you know what the Magi do and why we're so afraid of them? They're able to control your mind. They're able to control your mind. You know those voices? You know those voices? Yeah. Do you know there are daimones? There are daimones that can whisper in your ears. Yeah. There are daimones. The magus is the one who controls this manipulation. That's the magus. It's why it's unnatural. Ultimately, they consider it unnatural, right? But that's how the Christ must be, right? What did the devil say? He said he's coming. You know what I'll bet he's going to do? I bet this God, this tyrant God is so bad, I bet he kills his only son. Yeah. Look at the devil. Pure prophecy. Do you understand why the devil is in the void? Are we still up? Joey, we got, oh, sorry. Bang on the walls. Maybe it'll come back up. Okay, good. The devil. Do you understand now? Do you understand that place that we have to go to? Yeah, we have to look into the mirror. We have to look into the mirror. And Jesus is with his boys, and they're all going to go through this. He's taking them. You realize he's with these 12 boys that he just took his clothes off, and every one of them saw his hoo-ha. Every one of them. Because he was washing their feet, and he used his underwear to wipe off their feet. Now, don't think that's too strange for a magus, because they do stuff like that. They're all like on your sweat and stuff. Yeah, no, seriously. Seriously, guys? Seriously? You're licking sweat? Yeah, I don't know, Jesus. I don't know. Boy sweat? I don't think I'm going to go there. I think that's where I'm drawing the friggin' line. At least we can be here and watch him do his thing. Give me the next one. Give me the next one. What happens? Oh, God. Are you ready? Room, 12 children. Jesus has already very inappropriately undressed himself in front of the kids. Tied a little rag around his waist and washed their feety weeties. And then dried them with a towel. He's already done that. Now what's happening? He takes a cup. Uh-oh. Stop. What happens? He blesses the cup and he gives it to them, saying, everybody drinks. Yeah. Okay. Now, just for the record, the 12 that he takes there, 3 of them couldn't even stay awake. Says their eyes were heavy. Do you know why their eyes were so friggin' heavy? I mean, I don't know about you, but if I'm standing in a public park at 4 a.m., there's no way I'm just going to fall asleep. Okay? No way I'm going to fall asleep. By the way, you know, they weren't the only ones in the park, right? We're going to see the zombies that are doing the same thing. Oh, God, you're going to love it. It's the real, okay, tonight I have to be honest with everybody. The real novelty tonight, is the zombie. Oh, God, I'm so sorry. Okay, but it's got to come out this way. It's got to come out. Give me the next one, please. Boom. And what happened? Oh, okay. Now, look. Now, he gives them instructions, by the way. He just gave them the cup with the drug that's going to narcotize them, right? And he gets them up. He gathers them up, right? And he says to them as he's taking them to the garden, right? He's taking him to the Garden of Gethsemane where he gets arrested, right? And what does he tell him? He says, look, after I come back, right, I'll go before you do back to Galilee so that they could know where to come up. You mean Jesus Christ is telling people he's going to enter into death and he's going to come back. And when he comes back, he says, I'll meet you in Galilee. Okay. What does your fairy tale say about this? It says Jesus is talking about his resurrection. Do you know how many resurrections there are? They're all over the place. And tonight I'm going to resurrect the zombies for you. They're all over the place. Coming out of the tombs. People all groggy and bandaged. Coming, oh God, it's okay. It's another one. Right? Oh, that one's OD'd. says the dude about the young girl. She's OD'd. Yeah, get her, Jesus, gal, bro. Right? So Jesus says, after I come out of it, meet me in Galilee. Give me the next one. And what happens? So Jesus gathers them all up. And this is what this says. They're going out to the garden, right? They're going out to that little mount. It's not a big mountain. It's just a hill, right? It's a little bit, it's okay, but it's not like, Everest. They go out to that little hill, and it's the place of the olives. And what do while they're on their way? They're hymning. They're hymning? Who hymns at the time? The mystery religions. Don't you hear those people at sunrise? They do it all the time. You can hear them at 2 a.m. if you get close to them. Yeah. What are they doing out there? Jesus is taking his boys out to that secluded place. And they're singing religious hymns. What do you think they're singing, marching out there? I'll tell you what they're singing. They're singing the mystery rites. They're singing the same thing. Everybody else who's performing Bacchic ritual is singing. And here they go. Here it goes. What'd you think? Were you Christians? What did you think? They were hymning. You think they had one of your hymn books out there from 1850? How great thou art. Do you think that's what they're singing? You friggin' morons. Oh my God. Give it to me. Give it to me. By the way, thank you to Teddy Bass for the glorious music. Teddy is going to take another modern and transform it into an ancient. He's going to pull a miracle. He touched me, right? Jesus touched me. Give me the next one, please. Please. And Jesus says everybody's going to be scandalized, right? And why is this? Why is that one? That was the one that we had in twice. I meant to get rid of that. Go. That's the scandalone or the trap, right? Everybody knows the scandal is the trap, and Jesus says we're all going to get trapped, right? And what is this, right? Stick in a trap on which the bait is placed, right? We're going to get caught tonight. Remember, I just wanted you to remember. I think that's why I repeated it, because I wanted you to hear the fact that Jesus is setting this up, right? He knows, dude. He knows. And what does this say? It says Jesus is saying Amen again. He's saying my name. Say my name, Jesus. I say to you, all right, in this night before the what's that guy called? Rooster. Before that rooster sounds, right, you're going to deny that you know me 3 times, right? You're going to, it's not just deny that you know, right? Aparnese. It's to say that you think that whatever is being discussed is bad and you want nothing to do with it. It's almost like you have to turn on someone that you've been following, and you're going to have to renounce. I like the word renounce better for that. Yeah. Anyway, let's keep going. He says you're going to renounce me. Here it is. Oh, here it is, light. And oh, look, deny, right? To refuse or reject, to deny, right? Good. Okay. So something very serious is going to happen, and nobody ever points out that in the middle of this entire party, in the garden, in the Mount of Olives, in the middle of all of this, there's some goings on that are, you don't realize you've interrupted a rite, right? The cops that came there suddenly interrupted Jesus. Let's see what he does. I know I put it in there, right? And Jesus came to the place called Gethsemane, and he said to his 12 students, sit here. Here's a nice place. Isn't he creepy? Sit here. I'm going to go over there and pray. Right? And everybody says, these are 40-year-old men. No, they aren't. I'll show you they aren't. So he sitting down his class, and he's going to go over there and pray. What does he do then? What does he do then? He takes a hold of Peter, right? And the two sons of Zebedee. Yeah. And he did what? What's he going to do? He's going to take him with him at a distance. And he starts lupesta. He starts entering a pained or grievous state. And he starts becoming confused. You mean Jesus, the Son of God, was confused? Daimonain. Daimonain. You're right. He was in a state of intoxication. He was in a state of intoxication, a state of confusion. Give me the next one. Give me the next one. Daimoneo, people. Look at it. To be sorely troubled, just because nobody ever believes me. To be in anguish. Look down a couple of lines. To be puzzled. To be puzzled. Huh. And where is this thing found? It's found in the epidemics. It's in the Hippocratic corpus. Again, we're looking at the term through its use. That is what classical philology is. Pointing at a translation on a computer screen and saying, reading off the translation, what is that? That is so weak. You evangelicals, can I just say at this time, you evangelicals are so disgracefully weak. Why will none of you answer the call? None of you out there. You know what? I feel like Goliath. I feel like Goliath, right? Aren't there any Davids out there? Because I'm getting tired of stepping on your asses. I love it. Gnostic Informant's going to bring some goodness too. Did you send Gnostic an invite? Sorry, I sprung that on you, Chewy. By the way, for anybody who puts down the Chewy, anybody's Chewy, not just my Chewy, but Danny's Chewy. I saw those reviewers say something nasty about Danny Jones Chewy, who's Stephen with a BH. And that was unacceptable. Unacceptable. Put them down. Put them down for the demons. Where the demons go? Get them out. I'll get them out. What is this saying? This is Hippocrates. And this is just an aside. Look, boop. We pop back in time, back to 5th century. We're going to look at some 5th century type medicine influenced by the Ionians being practiced in Attica. Oh, yeah. What's this say? Oh, these things, right? These symptoms that he's been describing, because he goes through the year and he says, this year we had these diseases. And this year he says the symptoms were common in Merakioisin. What are those? Those are young girls. Neoisin. Those are young boys. And Akamadzusin. What do these people all have in common? What does the Neos have in common with the Meraks? They are Akamadzusi. Isn't that a beautiful word? Akamadzusi. They are blooming. Blooming. Okay. Set that in your brain. And what does that bottom line say? These are the types of people who spend time at the Palestra and the gymnasia. What are they? They're the schools, the public schools. Do you know where Jesus gets his apostles? From public schools. That's why he calls his students children. Again, it's the age between 10 to 12-ish and up to later teens, right? And by the way, people say St. Peter was married. No. He wasn't, right? It's one word for sister-in-law. right? And mother-in-law. It's the same word. He's probably his brother's wife. Yeah. Is it because why? How can I be so sure? Because there's no other evidence of a freaking wife anywhere, right? And it doesn't fit that he's married at such a young age. Fantastic. By the way, the tax collector was sitting at the booth. He wasn't employed. Okay, give me the next one. What is a mathetes? I want you to look into the face of the apostle tonight, right? Right? It's the pupil of philosophers and rhetoricians, right? Students of, apprentices, people in studying medicine, right? This is the teen year, right? The teen experience. And I'm not saying year by year by year. The growth experience, it's that period, growth and following, the bloom and following. When what are these people doing? They're usually working with someone specifically to learn. It's a form of education or paideia. Okay? Remember, nobody's been speaking Hebrew here for hundreds of years, right? We've all been speaking Greek. And we had that revolution, right? We want those libraries. We want those texts. Yay, civilization. Love it. Give me the next one. Look at, what do we do in the gymnasium? We do bodily exercises, right? Gymnastics school. In Egypt, those who have received training as ephebes, and everybody knows what ephebes are. Ephebes are teenagers. Yeah. Why? They are in the bloom of youth. They didn't look at it like 16, 17, 18. They didn't look at it like that. They looked at it as blooming. I told you, an overwhelming majority of these people are involved in one way or another with agriculture. Okay, fantastic. We cannot forget that. Ephebe, we're talking about ephebes. Do you understand? Christians, do you understand when it's translated as disciples? Do you understand? We're talking about students. Jesus is doing everything he's doing as a Christos with the appropriate 12 children. Appropriate for the rites, right? Paul does the same thing. He has to go out and get 12 too. Why is it? Why do you think it is? Haven't you been in a synagogue? Haven't you been in a synagogue by the 2nd century? The synagogue has an ion with a ribbon of the astrology around it, 12 houses. Don't you know what you're doing? You need one kid for every house. Okay. All right. Stuff has to be followed. There's prescriptions for this. These drugs are crazy, crazy complicated and dangerous. The whole process of putting yourself into death and being raised again into new life, that entire mystery is a very, very regulated process. Okay? Otherwise, you can end up dead, bro. You can end up dead. And Jesus is like handing out the poison, right? Everybody knows that Jesus Christ, if you don't know, go look at Mark chapter 16. Jesus Christ is handing out the death poison to people, right? Everybody knows that. Did anybody say that to any of the evangelicals that tried to poison their minds? Did you tell them that? What about Jesus handing out death drugs? Huh? Jim Jones did, and everybody made a big deal out of that. What about Jesus? Because Jesus' drugs bring you back, baby. They bring you back. You can say, they have the technology. Let me just say this for the conspiracy people out there. I want to tell you one thing about Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ hung on a cross and died before he was supposed to. The only injury he was given beside the beating was the sword in the side, the javelin in the side. And what happened? What happened with that wound? Well, that's what killed him. No, he had already been dead. But, and here's what you'll love, those wounds can be easily closed. Galen talks about suturing that stuff up all the time. Their military physicians are great at it. Okay, you guys know that. Give me the next one. We need more evidence here. I want to see the zombies. Bring in the zombies. Bring in the zombies. What happens to this? Jesus is in a place of pain. He says, look, my mind. Ah, we're in the garden. And Jesus is like, ah, my mind is so burdened. It's burdened all the way into death. Right? He's going into it. He's going into it. This is what's going on. And his drugged students are sleeping. The only one who's not sleeping is that naked kid that's with Jesus, because all of this is happening around that naked kid. Okay, what does he say? What does he say? He says, I'm going into that death. My psyche, my soul is so heavy. I'm going to that death. And what? What? Mena te jode. Right? He's talking to him, standing over him, sons of bitches. What's he doing? He's standing over those apostles, and they've fallen asleep again. He says, you couldn't stay here, right? Menate, stay here. He's giving them a command, right? Remain vigilant. And do what? Gregoreo with me. Yeah. Be aware, right? Be aware. Be on guard. Jesus needed the three that were the most impressive, physical, examples. He needed them to be there, to be watching. And he tells them, watch, but don't be tempted. This is all in the environment of him praying to God, please, if I don't have to do this, don't let me. Right? We'll just not do it. It's hard to do the Pascha, man. What do you think he's trying to? What do you think this is easy? Give me the next one. Give me the next one. Oh God. What's this? Was Matthew 26:39. Yeah, so he goes away a little bit and he falls on his face and he's praying. He's saying, oh God, if it's possible, put this thing aside, this cup, put this cup aside. He's with the kid. Remember, he's with the kid. He and the kid, Peter, James, and John at a distance, who keep falling asleep. And what's he say? Right? What's he say? Oh, if it's your, will, let it be done. But if not, right, I want what you want, Big Daddy. And what happens? Comes to his students and he finds them there and they're totally passed out. He says, you idiots, you couldn't even keep it together to help me keep watch of what was going on. Because remember, he's been talking about we're gonna get given up, baby. Right? So stay awake. Pay attention and do what? Don't get tempted. Why? Because the spirit is willing. It's strong. It's prothumon. It has that thumos. That's the spirit. But the sarx, the sarx is weak. The flesh is weak. Don't be tempted. What he's doing with the boy, don't be tempted. Flesh is weak. Do you remember what Paul said? He's got that what in his flesh? He's got that venom in his flesh. He's got that thorn. Okay, remember the sex drugs. They're using the sex drugs in this process. And if you ever haven't been, look, what is that sex drug doing? It's forcing orgasm, right? Forced psychotic orgasm. Confused, paranoid orgasm. Jesus is rolling on the ground. I'm about to show you what he says. When he stands up and starts talking, it makes no friggin' sense. Makes no sense. Give me the next one. This dude, they say I'm crazy. Oh my God, look at Jesus, right? What's he doing? If I was caught with 12 students out in the public park, I wouldn't be standing here in my kitchen of doom talking to you. That's for sure. What's he come? He comes back and he finds them sleeping again. Darn it, they're anesthetized. What? And he says, look, he's waking them up and their eyes they can't open their eyes, right? Seriously? I wake up if I think a spider has crawled across my face. That wakes me up. Boom. I'm like a sentry. Seriously? You're out in a public park and you can't even hold your eyes open? What was in the cup, Jesus? What was in the cup, and why are you telling these young kids? Why are you telling these young people, these bloomers? Why are you telling them to not be tempted? Tempted what? Tempted with what, you freak? All right, bring on. We got to bring zombies. I told you, Neil, I was going long tonight. And he comes to his students and he says to them, wake the hell up, right? Well, now it's time. Are you ready? And the Christians are going to, right? They're going to love this. Now it's time. He says, the hour has come, right? For the Son of Man to be handed over to the hands of those who were doing wrong. Give it to me. He knows the jig is up. When I watch, this gives him away. The evangelicals are going to love this. This gives him away. He says, what does Jesus say? Now, if you are right, and he is, and the Son of God is standing there, right? And he is, and he knows everything. All praise, right, to the Lamb of Pascha. He knows everything. Why does he say this? Get up. Let's get out of here. There's the one who betrayed me. Why does he say, let's get out of here? Why does he say that? Jesus, you know you're about to get crucified. Why are you telling the boys, hey, the jig is up. Let's get out of here. Agomen. With that one word, agomen. Christian theology takes a dive. Jesus Christ was trying to get away. He wasn't able to. They surprised him. It was too much. And those idiot kids were all anesthetized. What happened to the other ones? I don't know. But they just run. As soon as the cops show up, what happens? You're at that party. You know what I'm talking about. You're at that party. Stuff's been happening. And, you go into rooms and there's, people are friggin' crazy. Right? And what happens when the sirens show up? Woo! Right? It was a group of Roman soldiers. It was a SWAT team. When a SWAT team shows up, in this circumstance, everybody ran. Jesus was right. He got scandalized. And here it is. Let's go. Nope, Jesus, sorry. You're not omniscient. You're not omniscient. You are about to get treated in the fashion that all lace ties, you darn well know, get treated. You're about to get crucified. How do you think Jesus knew that he was going to get crucified? You know what gets you crucified? Not being a thief, right? Thieves don't get crucified. Are you kidding me? Yeah. People are trying to take shit in the marketplace all the time. You can't crucify all those people. What do you do? What do? You crucify only those who need to be visibly seen to be crucified. It's public execution. It's very civilizing. When you show the worst of the worst being killed, you got your eyes wide open. Thank you, Ludovico. Thank you. Oh, God, I love the serum. Here's to Ludovico. Hail Satan. Give me the next one. Let's go. Okay, I'm going to love it. Oh, God. Yeah, take it away. Now, what are the words that Jesus says? Right now, listen from Jesus's mouth how doped up he is. Because a couple of them start to fight back. right? Peter starts to fight back. And Jesus says, "What are you doing? Don't you know that I can call daddy and he can send me how many legions of angels?" Oh my God. What? What are you talking about? These are people in history. It's a SWAT unit, and they're here to arrest you. And they're not going to arrest you just for anything, Jesus. They're going to arrest you for a crucifiable crime. And you're talking about what? Dude, seriously, legions of angels. Seriously? Do you hear the kids screaming in the background, running away? And right now, the naked kid with the bandage on his hoo-ha, he's nervous because now he bolts. They go for him and he bolts. What was that kid doing with Jesus in that park? He was doing something that could get Jesus Christ crucified. Was Jesus Christ justifiably crucified? Yeah, just like the two dudes next to him. Just like the two dudes next to him. Give it to me. Give it. Oh, there he is. Crucify him, Jesus. Here, let's do some gratuitous history. Here he is. But before, what does he get before? Imagine him getting this before. Oh, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Try that sometime. Try that sometime. The same group gets executed in prison, right, by other prisoners. That innate justice that says you cannot harm children, that's universal. That doesn't go away. You can't wipe that out. You can't wipe that out. The drive to crucify Jesus Christ was a drive to stop those involved in the trade. We have trafficking right now where people are drugged and put into sexual situations and dominated by the drugs, manipulated by the drugs. Do you think this is a new invention? The Romans wanted to put a stop to it. This Christian guy said, "Oh, it was the Christians. They're the ones who stopped all the pederasty. No, they aren't. They are not the ones who stopped the pederasty." And I can give you example after example after example of Christians being put into jail for sexually abusing children. Okay. In what? In rights. Christian rights. All right. So, yeah. I'm sorry for the Christians out there. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry that, the reality has to be this way. But we have to be true to those texts, right? We have to follow those texts. Give me the next one. Let's hurry. Let's get through this, right? So that Neil can come out. Oh, God. Here, no, let's keep going. We did that one. Here, go to the next one. Go to the next one. Get up. Let's go. Yeah. We're getting betrayed. Right. Keep going. He was thinking there. We caught up. So at that time, this is when Jesus says to the crowd of people that showed up. Notice that it says, Matthew uses the word ochlos, right? A crowd. It's not just a crowd like Taylor Swift fans, right? It's a mob, a pissed off mob. And most of them are armed. Even the ones that aren't SWAT are armed. Do you realize that when Jesus Christ was arrested, he was arrested in a raid? And guess who they were rounding up? They were rounding up traffickers. They were giving rewards for traffickers. Julius Caesar had just done his thing. Trying to clean up the Mediterranean from friggin' traffickers that kidnapped him. Sons of... Okay. What does Jesus say to the mob? He says, look, you think I'm a lace-days. You think I'm a trafficker. It's not me making it up. It's coming right out of the text itself. These are your texts, Christians, and I'm not going to give them back. And so, yeah, they crucified him. What does this say? They crucified him. And with him there were duo lacei. There were duo lacei. And how are they crucified? They put one on one side and one on the other. They lined these guys up. They lined these traffickers of the human soul up, these abusers of humanity. And they were so pissed that they prefer that Jesus get crucified to a dude who had killed someone. Yeah. To a dude who had killed someone. There was great hatred for Jesus Christ for a reason. You were supposed to see the crucifixion for what it was. Instead, you preferred your greed. You wanted that life. You didn't want to die and go to hell, did you? You didn't want to die and go to hell. To my friend out there who said, enjoy hell, idiot. You don't want to die and go to hell. Right? The dude who was there was a creep. Give me the next one. We're almost done. We're almost done, Neil. And yeah, here's just another one. And here are those crucified. There are those crucified lacei. But what I just want you to notice what they're doing. They derided Jesus. What he had done was so bad. They derided him. Right? They derided him because there's different, when you're involved in trafficking, you can always just sell the person off to somebody who's going to, she's going to fetch a high price for a bride somewhere. And you just take her to the bride market, right? You don't have to do Pascha. You don't have to do Pascha. And I think that the derision of those other traffickers around him, I think that says a lot about that angry mob. I think it says a lot. Even the Roman soldiers were giving it to him, right? Give me the next one. Give me the next one. And what does it say? What does it say? Oh, the temple. So Jesus, he gives up, right? He gives up the ghost. Right? He yields his life. And what does this say? The temple curtain was ripped in half. Right? And what happened? There was an earthquake. The earth shook. Ready? Now you wanted the zombies. Just wait. The earth shook and the stones were broken. Right, we've got tombs that are made of stone. And when Jesus is up there, he cries out, and he says, Sabachthon, the holy God. He's crying out, Amen. He's crying out to that divinity in whose mystery he is. And remember, he's saying crazy stuff. He wouldn't answer any questions at one point, right? And what happens? He's screaming, and all of a sudden, the earth shakes. And the tombs crack open. And what happens? Give me the next one. What happens? Here they are. The tombs opened up. Yeah. And they were full of people who woke up and walked away. Did you notice every time Jesus goes around a tomb, there's somebody dead in it who gets up and walks away? Did you understand the process of the death and resurrection in the cult? Do you understand why they're doing that in the cemeteries? Jesus is not the only one on Pascha who is under the influence of the death inducer. Yeah. They took him down from that cross and took him away. Any physician could have patched him up. Any physician. He could have been given drugs to revive him. And you say, how do they? Oh, don't worry. You have orifices, baby. Yeah. He could have been given drugs to revive him. And what would he do then? He would walk away just like he said he would. He'd go up to Galilee. He'd meet him up there when he was done. Do you know what Jesus was doing? He was doing the mystery. And the entire fairy tale that you have heard is false. It's a figment of your imagination. The actual history is way better. Dude was caught up in a cult that was doing things, and got him crossed with the Romans, right? Oh, next thing you know, he's getting crucified just like he thought he would. Give me the next one. Give me the next one. Oh, people love it. People love it. Last. I think that's it. Yep, they come out. Yep, they get up. Next one. Boom. And what happens? They come out of those tombs, right? This is the agarsis. Yeah, this is the agarsis. Remember, Jesus already said when Mary showed up with the sex drug dildo dispenser, medicinal dispenser, when he showed up with that, he was already entering. He told you, this is the entaphiasmon, right? These rites, they have processes that you go through, steps in the initiations, right? Prophets do these steps, they perform these steps. And now what is this step? This is the step of the revelation, right? The agersis. The agersis. What is that agersis? It's just from agero, to wake up. That's what these mystery rites are all about. And as soon as the person who is physically, remember I showed you the drug and it said it looks like the person is completely dead. That's what these people are doing in the tombs. Well, guess what? He's got a whole bunch of people around him that are doing the rites. Don't you remember? There are people who follow Jesus. And what are they doing? They're entering the agersis. It's a stage of the rite. That little kid that was in the tomb now, you thought he was there holy. Oh, he slipped through some holy, slide and boop, popped up and he said, look, Jesus is out of here. That kid is going through the process just like all of those other mystery initiates. That's why he's dressed like one. Okay, one more. Let me go to that one. Yeah, here it is. Just for those of you who don't ever believe me, and for the people, this is not for satanic congregation. This is for the people who sit there and are like, oh, I think he's making it up. This is your awakening. This is your awakening from death. Look at how it's being used. It's your recovery. You're raising your erection. Your erection. Zombies in the erection of Jesus Christ. That would be the name of a band. Thank you for coming tonight. I think I'm going. No, don't leave. Thank you for coming to this part. Now we're going to have Neil and I'm going to disappear into vapor. Just for a little bit, I'll be back and Neil is going to hit you with some cult stuff. Neil, thanks for waiting so long tonight. I appreciate the time. I want you to freely just offer us whatever you want to offer us. I'm going to shut up and give you that opportunity.
Yeah, man. I want to touch on some of the things you were touching about the beloved disciple and what that means and what that meant for the Greek audience of the time period. And I also want to promote some of my work that I got coming out in the next week. A lot of things going on, a lot of projects that I'm working on right now. So with that being said, I noticed you were refuting some of these Christian online apologists who are afraid to look at their own text in a certain light. They're afraid of this stuff. This is terrifying because what is a beloved disciple, right? What's going on, for example, what's going on in John's gospel, where you got this clear depiction of the youngest of all of them. And he's always depicted as this young boy hanging up on Jesus's lap. You know, it's the beloved disciple, right? You know, there he is again, the youngest. He's always got a cup in his hand. He's always drinking, underage drinking going on. What's that about? You know, sometimes some of these Renaissance painters have some weird cultic shit going on with the beloved disciple, where he's holding a cup, he's doing the Sabazian hand signals, he's got snakes coming out of his cups, he's got venoms, anti-venoms, Christ, antichrist. So that's their beloved disciple, right? You know, standard stuff. But what is a beloved disciple, right? What is a beloved disciple? That's what I want to figure out. So the first thing I want to do is we're going to go to, well, the most famous beloved couple of all time was Socrates and Alcibiades. By the way, if you read Diogenes Laertius tells us that Socrates, when he was young, when he was the age of Alcibiades, he was the beloved of Archelaus. And then it's like, then you read the life of Archelaus. Archelaus was the beloved of some other guy when he was younger. And there's this like beloved lover relationship going on in the ancient Greek world being passed down. It's the way it was back then. So, you know, I'm not saying I approve or anything, but I'm just saying this is the way things were. As far as Christians being the ones to get rid of this stuff, that is complete nonsense, because within the 2nd and 3rd and 4th century, the Roman aristocracy, the Ciceros, the Middle Platonist thinkers, the Neo-Pythagorean thinkers, they were the ones that were really pushing against pederasty. Whereas the Christian authors, you might find some of those Augustine, some of those other early Christian authors, you know, acting like they're so disgusted about the pederasty stuff. But it's like, why is the church always the one that's getting in the news for doing pederasty? So I don't know. You guys figure that out on your own. I'm just throwing that out there. So I'm going to share this little screen real quick. You got Socrates talking to his beloved, and he says to him, "I dare say you that you may be surprised to find, O son of Cleinias, that I, who am your first lover, not have spoken to you for many years, when the rest of the world were wearying you with their attentions, and the last of your lovers who will speak to you." See, this is his beloved. Socrates' beloved is young Alcibiades. You know, he's one of the students of Socrates. He's sitting around. He's the young guy of the crew. It's Plato. It's Diogenes. Critias is there. Timaeus is there. There's a few other people there. And there's young Alcibiades who's being trained to be the next general of the Athenian army, to fight the Persians, to fight the Spartans. And he's learning philosophy, because that's what the Greeks do. Everybody learns philosophy, especially if you got money. Now, I want to show something else real quick, and we're going to fly through this because I got some stuff that I want to show. But Socrates says to him, he says, "The reason was that I loved you for your own sake, whereas other men love what belongs to you. And your beauty, which is not you, is fading away, just as your true self is beginning to bloom. And I will never desert you if you are not spoiled and deformed by Athenian people, for the danger which I most fear is that you will become a lover of the people and will be spoiled by them. Many a noble Athenian has been ruined in this way, for the Demas of the great-hearted Erechtheus is of fair countenance, but you should see him naked. Wherefore, observe the caution which I give you." Which caution? "Practice yourself, sweet friend, in learning what you ought to know before you enter on politics. And then you will have an antidote which will keep you out of harm's way." And so they go, they're having this little flirty conversation. It's kind of known. This is kind of known as you read the Platonic dialogues. This is kind of what Socrates does. He's kind of a flirty dude with all these other younger boys. That's just, hey man, I'm just calling it how I see it. All right, nothing, it's just the way it was back then. So another thing I want to show too is in Diogenes Laertius. This is this shows up so common, so often. Well, you will find these beloveds showing up in the text, For example, let's see which one. I think it's this one. Yes. So they're talking about the life of Lycon. And it says, he says here, Diogenes Laertius is talking about the life of Lycon. And he was exceedingly beloved by Eumenus and Attalus, who made him great presents. And Antigonus also tried to seduce him to his court, but was also disappointed. And he was so great an enemy to Hieronymus the Peripatetic that he was the only person who would not go to see him on the anniversary festival, which he used to celebrate, in which we mentioned in our life of Archosaurus. And so, as you can see, the more you read these ancient texts, the more you read these lives of these ancient philosophers, you'll see that term beloved is very specific when it's thrown out there. It means something very specific. It's the favored disciple, and it's often a sexual relationship. I'm not fact check me on this. When you see that word beloved in the Greek text, it's often used for a sexual relationship for that's just the way it was. So Jesus was got this boy on his lap and he calls him his beloved disciple. I'm just telling you I'm just giving you the evidence. You decide what you want to do with it. All right. But yeah, so that's that. The other thing I wanted to discuss is the projects I got coming out. So I got some clips that I want to play. I have a video that's about 95% done. Now, I was going to rush it out before I went to, I'm going to Florida tomorrow. When I go to Florida, I'm doing Matt Beal's podcast. I'm doing another round of Danny Jones. So that's coming out soon. We're going to talk about the founding fathers. We're going to talk about democracy. We're going to talk about the Dark Ages. We're going to talk about the Statue of Liberty. We're going to talk about the Anacreontic Society, the Star-Spangled Banner. We're going to talk about the roots of liberalism in the West. Should we credit Judeo-Christianity for Western values? Is that really a thing? Or did what happened with Thomas Jefferson and Thomas Paine and George Washington and all these great thinkers and the French liberals, the French Revolution that happened almost parallel to the American Revolution, and even English liberalism on the rise. Even Germany was fighting against the status quo at the time, which was the Holy Roman Empire, which is the dead, old, bloated carcass that everyone wanted to get rid of. And there was a movement. And what was that movement? What was going on? What was the core values of that movement? And it's ancient Greek ideals. Ancient Greco-Roman, that's a good term to use, because it's also Roman Republic to be specific. Not Roman Empire, Roman Republic, which is based off Greek democratic Athenian ideals. So what do we get from those? We get democracy, we get constitutional republics, we get the rule of the people, we get art, we get tragedy, we get dramas, we get comedy, we get festivals every month, we get the expression of the self, we get philosophy, we get science, we get flourishing thinking, debate. We get civilization itself. We get the images back, paintings, sculptures, all that stuff that we had. People think this was like something that happened in the Renaissance that's never been seen before, as if Christianity was developing and when it got to its high point in the Renaissance, that gave the world all these great things. No, read history. What happened is those things were already a part of the world. They were already a part of the world for hundreds and hundreds of years, going back to the Iron Age, going all the way to antiquity. Those things were already present. You already had Platonic academies. You already had great architecture with beautiful Corinthian columns. You already had temples, and you already had great musicians playing different songs in Phrygian mode and Dithyrambo mode and Paean modes. And you already had festivals, and you already had artistic expression and theaters happening and people expressing themselves and living life to the fullest and loving life and loving the world. Whereas all of a sudden the world was something to be against and evil. and the body is evil, and expressing yourself the way you desire is evil. You should express yourself in the image of Christ. And so you had this fake dark world that I call the Dark Ages. So my project's coming up is one of them. I'm talking to Danny Jones about this very topic, specifically about the founding fathers. We're going to read a bunch of letters from the founding fathers, like Thomas Jefferson, Thomas Paine, all that stuff. We're getting into all that stuff. And then I have a debate coming up. So that's the first project. The second project is I have a debate coming up. And that's kind of why I haven't been putting out content. I'm trying to prep for this debate. It was supposed to happen weeks ago, but it got pushed back to the 22nd. So I'll do that when I get back. That's a debate with what if alt-hist? What if alt-hist is a right-wing? He calls himself right-wing. I'm not describing him that way. This is not like me like talking crap. He calls himself right-wing. He's a right-wing political historian. I'm using that in quotes because I don't know if I'd call him a historian. He tries to do history, that's for sure. And we're debating. He's at 500,000 subscribers. He's way bigger than me. He's got 500,000. And we're going to debate about the Dark Ages. Is the Dark Ages dark? And I say, yes, they were. This idea that that's politically incorrect to say Dark Ages, we're going to offend Christians. Sorry, but it was. It was the Dark Ages. So that's the other project I got going on. Another project I got going on is Matt Beal's podcast. That's 3. I'm also visiting Derek down there. We're going to do some collaborations down there, Myth Vision. And then the 5th project, which is going to come out within a day or 2 when I get back. And the reason why I'm holding off on it is because I have a few more edits that I have to do. There's a few more changes that I have to make. I want to make this video perfect. And it's a polemic video against Dan McClellan. Right now it's about 2.5 hours long. That's how much content, that's how much I have on refuting the stuff that Dan says. I might trim down a lot of the fat and get it down to 2 hours. So I have some edits that I want to do. I want to watch it a couple times, and after I watch it a couple times, I want to decide what needs to get cut and what should stay. So I'm not rushing it out there. It is pretty much done. With that being said, I want to give you guys a little bit of an appetite, a little wet appetite on this. So I want to play some of the clips. I'll pause it as we're going and discuss some of it, and I want to get Ammon's thoughts too. So without further ado, let me pull up the video. Here it is.
1.5 million unique words, and the ancient Hebrew only has 8,000 unique words. And he was explaining to us, he was showing us the differences. And there was like, for one word in Greek, when you translate it to Hebrew, there's like 3 or 4 words just to equal that one word in Greek.
So a couple of things there. One, there's nowhere near that many Greek words. There are ancient Greek. You've got, I think, 275,000 is the estimate, more or less, of how many ancient Greek words there are. If you look at all Greek, ancient, medieval, and modern, you've got 400,000 to 500,000. And
what's that lexicon website where we can actually look?
Okay, so what's about to happen here? He just cited. Actually, let me continue to play. I'll pause it a second.
Get up.
Thesaurus Linguae Graeca.
Yeah. Okay.
He just cited this website right here. So I was like, okay, let's see what his website says. This website that Dan himself cites gives us 1.9 million words. Now, if we had to be charitable, is he talking about the lamata? Let me see what he's talking about. Let's go back.
Lexicon website where we can actually look it up.
Ancient Greek, you've got, I think, 275,000 is the estimate, more or less, of how many ancient Greek words there are. If you look at all Greek, ancient, medieval, and modern, you've got 400,000 to 500,000. And
what's that lexicon website where we can actually look it up?
Thesaurus Linguae.
All right. So if the number he was looking for was the lamata, then he's not correct, because first of all, he's off a little bit, but even if that's what he was going for, that's not what Ammon said. Ammon's entire argument was hinging on the expressiveness of Greek. So if Ammon is talking about the expressiveness of Greek, he's talking about unique word forms, which means Dan is being either slick here or purposely dishonest by trying to cite the lamata, which is It's not. Well, basically, what happens is you have lemata, which is one word. Luo, luomen, luestai. That's all one lemata. It's not three different words. But Ammon's saying the way you would express luo can be expressed in 20 different ways. Those are 20 different words. That's what he was saying. He's talking about unique word forms, which means that Dan is being dishonest. He's comparing apples to oranges, not apples to apples. So his own source that he cited is agreeing with Ammon. Real quick, let me just I'm going to share a different screen real quick. And Ammon, do you have anything you want to say about that before I?
Yeah, talk about the 8,000, because that was
we're getting there.
The muse came up and gave it to him on this one. I love.
We're gonna get there.
She brought it out of his mouth. He was talking about himself. It was pure Bacchic initiation. I love it. I'll be quiet. Go. Take me
Another
down.
thing, if you notice, I'm going to go back to that clip, and you're going to hear him say it. He says modern, ancient, and classical, all of it. That was the number he gave. The website he cites doesn't do that. The website that he cites is only modern. Now, the reason why I had this lady on the screen right now is because she is a very famous scholar, philanthropist, philologist. She's won a bunch of awards. Look, she's got the Greece's Order of the Phoenix Award, Italy's Golden Aeschylus Award, San Diego's Women's Hall of Fame. She's a straight up like OG philologist, right? UC San Diego. The reason why I'm showing her it because she says, this is going to be in the video too. I'll show you this when I get there. She says that there's 5 to 6 million total Greek unique word forms. Ancient, modern, classical, all together. So where did Dan get that number from? I have no idea. I tried to find it. He's being kind of dishonest by citing the lemata but not agree. Ammon was talking about the word forms the entire time. That's dishonest, or he just doesn't know, which I don't think he does. I think he has to know this stuff. He's supposedly a linguist. All right. So I'm going to go back to that clip. We're going to continue with what we're saying, and you're going to hear this. It gets even worse. It gets a lot worse. Let's see. Where did I put that video? Okay, there it is. Here it is.
Graika.
Yeah. Okay.
TLG.
Can you find the TLG and is there a way you can just search for unique words in a certain language and it'll tell you?
You have to have an account.
Notice how even Danny said unique words. Unique words. We're talking about a specific thing here. Okay.
I think to do the most robust kind of search with that.
Do you?
But I think you should be able to do some pretty basic stuff.
Okay.
With,
see what you can find, Stephen. Okay. Anyways, you can keep going.
And then there's 79,945 words in Hebrew in the Hebrew Bible alone. So
79,000?
79,000, yeah. So I think he may have heard 80,000 somewhere.
He said 8.
Yeah, I think he may have mistook 80 for 8 because the Hebrew Bible itself, which is not all of ancient Hebrew, like there was a lot of Hebrew writing and speaking outside the Hebrew Bible. But
now, as you all know, Dan was absolutely the opposite on this. Who's correct here? Is it Dan or is it Ammon? Are they both half right? No, it's the opposite of what Dan just said. Ammon was 100% correct here. Dan was 100% wrong here. It was the exact opposite of what Dan made the claim. It turned out that it was 8,000. But his mistake is worse than you think. Let me explain. I'll play the video.
The Hebrew Bible itself has 80,000 different words in it.
He gave an exact number, 79,945 words. It's funny that the next day after this interview went down, Dan McClellan posted the following post on X. He said, yesterday I recorded a podcast interview in which Now you're going to notice that in this clip that I have right here, I'm speeding through it because I don't want to read the whole thing, but you understand he makes the claim that he meant to say 80,000. This is what he says in this. He meant to say something was telling me I was 80,000, but for some reason it came out the wrong way. I said 8,000. That's not what he said. He didn't say, there was no decimal move. He gave an exact number. Okay, just listen. Responded to the claims related to ancient Greek and Hebrew made by Dr. Ammon Hillman on a previous episode, Ancient Greek Lexical Greek from Antiquity to Today. In the previous interview, though, Dr. Hillman actually in a later live stream claim did not come from the previous podcast interview. It's on the claim that the ancient Hebrew had 8,000 words, that I made an embarrassing mistake. Somehow, I got it in my head that the Hebrew Bible had 80,000 distinct words in it, but that's wildly inaccurate. He never says 80,000. He gives an exact amount. By the way, he knew this, and I'll talk about this in the video. This won't be in this clip, but I'm going to tell you right now. He knew this question was coming for weeks. Why he didn't prepare or check, I don't know. But the thing that's worse to me is not that he made a mistake. I don't care about people making mistakes and then correcting themselves. That's plausible. I applaud that kind of behavior. Hey, I was wrong. Ammon was right. So why am I even putting this in his face? I'm not putting this in his face that he's wrong. I'm actually discrediting him as being dishonest here, because he gave an exact number and then tried to make it seem like it was a decimal error, and I knew the right thing, but I just, for some reason, it came out wrong. And I'm calling him a liar. Let's be blunt here. I think he's lying about this. Why do I think he's lying? Because he did this to me before. When we had a back and forth on X one time, and I called him out for not understanding Middle Platonism and not understanding like monism or Platonism at all, and not understanding like the creator gods and demiurges of the time period of Paul were what that was the popular thing of the time period, to have one God who's in control of the cosmos. Whether there's creation ex nihilo does not matter. There was one God who was in control, who was the mind of the universe, the nous. That's an idea that goes back to Plato. That's an idea that's developed by the Stoics and the Middle Platonists. By the time Paul comes around, that's status quo. He tried to tell me that I don't know my sources. He threw 5 books in my face. And this is what he does here. He'll cite sources like he knows what he's doing. Then I checked those sources, and it turned out that they agreed with what I was saying, that he's the one who didn't actually know the sources. And then, so what does he do? Did he actually come along and say, hey, you know what, Neil, you were right. I'm going to change my ideas now. I'm going to go, this was a good back and forth exchange. You're correct. I'm wrong. Sorry. Nope. He pretends it doesn't even happen. He just acts like it never even happened. So this is why when this came along, when I noticed this happened, and he tried to make it seem like he said 80,000, or he said 8,000 but meant 80,000. No, you said 79,000. You gave an exact number to the decimal. That's a lie. You cannot get out of this. Anyways, let's continue. That's full of shit, my man. You did not say 80,000. You said 79,945.
And then there are 79,945 words in Hebrew in the Hebrew Bible alone. So
79,000.
Think about this for a second. Let's think about this. Use your head for a second. Simple IQ here. He gave a number of 79,945, which means he purposely gave 5 decimals with 79. He didn't say there's 80,000 and then go, oh, whoa, I meant 8,000. I was off by a decimal, which is what he claims in his X post. That's not what happened. That is pure dishonesty on his part. 100%. If you can't see that, I don't know what to tell you.
89,000. Yeah. So I think he may have heard 80,000 somewhere.
He said 8.
Yeah. I think he may have mistook 80 for 8.
Actually, you're the one that mistook 8 for 80.
8.
Look.
He's an exact number. Go ahead.
He's looking into the mirror, right? He's saying he mistook. No, I knew what it was. You're the one who's undergoing the initiation. Oh, I love it. It's gorgeous. Pure Bacchic.
Watch how I zoom into his face when he says that.
9,000?
79,000. Yeah. So I think he may have heard 80,000 somewhere.
Oh, 8. He said 8.
Yeah. I think he may have mistook 80 for 8 because they're.
Look at that smug look. You're the one that mistook it. And it's not even, I'm not even giving you the benefit of the doubt of mistaking it now, because you could have just came on X and said, you know what? I'm wrong. I didn't even realize how much more. Ammon's correct here. The Greek is a lot more expressive. There's a lot more words. There's a lot more word forms. And Hebrew actually has a lot less words than I thought. I thought it was 80,000. I thought it was 79,000. Turned out to be 8,000. But instead, he had to pretend that he still has control, that he still knows what he's doing. He had to create an illusion that I was correct and I knew it the whole time, but I just made a little error. That to me is dishonesty. That's worse than being wrong. Being wrong is not a big deal. I don't care. I'm wrong about shit all the time. It's about, hey, shit, I was proven wrong. Cool. I learned something today. But no, you couldn't even humble yourself. You're that proud in your PhD that you couldn't be wrong. You had to be correct still. You couldn't just admit that you were wrong. Anyways, that pissed me off. That's why I'm showing this today. There's more though. And this is going to be a 2.5 hour video. I'm going to trim it down. Right now I'm at 2.5 hours. It's the whole video is like this. You gave an exact number. This is not getting a decimal wrong. This is claiming something, finding out that you're wrong, and then trying to backpedal and say, no, I knew it the whole time. But
45 words in Hebrew in the Hebrew Bible alone.
But you made a claim, and your honesty is on the line now. This is this.
You see Greek in the synagogues. No,
Go ahead.
So Theosabeia is what this guy Job has. And I want you to see that this is that Saba, internal concept of Theosabeia or Saba.
These synagogue inscriptions where somebody, and God-fearer was a title that was used in the Hellenistic Jewish world to refer to somebody who was a Greek or a Roman, was not Jewish, but supported the Jewish community. So it was like, he's a friend of the Jews. He's a God-fearer.
That's not the only time that word is used. That word is used way before the Septuagint or Hebrew Bible even existed for pretty much anyone who's religious in any way. They could.
That was used in the Hellenistic Jewish world to refer to somebody who was a Greek or a Roman, was not Jewish, but supported the Jewish community.
And maybe some New Testament who has never came up with that and this is that and this. It only means that in this. Sorry about that. I was trying to skip ahead. That it's not important. You'll see these parts when I drop the video. And by the way, this is blurry because I did a screen recording just so I can have it easily for this video. Certain context. Even here, I will admit that's what it means. But I'm just wanting people to realize he's making a claim, a broad claim about a definition of a word with a very narrow scope on where the word comes from. Here's Herodotus in the mid-5th century BCE using that exact word, etikai hutamenos ton kroison ainai theosabeia tude enakin anabibese epi ten purin. Or perhaps he heard that Croesus was pious and put him atop of the fire to find out if this.
And so you have like funerary inscriptions where on somebody's headstone it says, "This is Dave, God-fearer." So that just meant he was a friend of the Jewish people.
Now, the big thing that I'm going to drill home here, and which I do, and I have some more edits that I have to do here. He's talking about the passage. Ammon made a claim that this word has a meaning in Greek. It has an etymology. This word theos and sabes. Dan tried to say that Ammon was wrong about this etymology, and he wasn't. Ammon is actually correct that this word, when you look up the history of the word, it usually just means pious, devotion, religious. That word Saba is where you get the word Augustus from in Latin. The Greek version of Augustus is Sebastos. So the August one, the revered one. That's what this word means. Now watch what Dan tries to say about this word. He only looks at it through his Judeo-Christian scope because he only knows the Hebrew Bible and nothing else. He has no training in classics at all. You can just tell. Watch.
The base.
Actually, no. If you find a random tombstone of a guy named Dave who was, let me just repeat what he says right here. This is important to find out if this.
And so you have like funerary inscriptions where on somebody's headstone it says, "This is Dave, God-fearer." So that just meant he was a friend of the Jewish people.
Actually, no. If you find a random tombstone of a guy named Dave who was a God-fearer, you can't just conclude that he's a friend of the Jews. He could have been a God-fearer of another God. You have to find out, is this in a Jewish cemetery? Is this a Christian cemetery? You have to find out the context.
This synagogue was built thanks to the help of so-and-so, Theosebes, the God-fearer. So that's
with Jews or Christians. By the way, I found an example of a synagogue in Greece built by God-fearers who worship Theos or Theos Hypsistos, God Most High. For a long time, they thought it was this Jewish synagogue, a Hellenistic Jewish synagogue. It turns out that recently, scholars and archaeologists have said, this might not even be Jewish. It might just be a Hypsisterian Greek monist synagogue, because there are synagogues in the Greek world that doesn't necessarily have to be Jewish. And so the idea that you would find a tombstone in somewhere laying anywhere, Greece, whatever, and it's a tombstone of a God-fearer worshiping God Most High, it does not necessarily mean he's a friend of the Jews. I have examples of that I'm going to show in the video. Sophocles Oedipus, etas gi Athenas, phasi these bestatas. There's that word, theosebes, in the female genitive form, and it means if they say that Athens is most devout towards the gods, once again, devotion to the gods, having nothing to do with Jews or Christians or friendly to the Jews, once again. In Plato's Cratylus, he uses the same word. Agathou hai theosebus, asebis, genitai, through the mouth of Socrates, which is a person who is good and pious becomes impious. False. The sacred Jews. Here's another example from Aristophanes' birds. Hernibi, Theosebes, Usian, Epiboan. It is imperative that I sing another sacred chant for the. By the way, there's that word Usian again too. So it's Dionysian to the core. This word has Dionysian roots. It's about devotion to the gods and being inspired by the gods of Romania.
It's Saba Zeus, baby, and exactly. It is Bacchus. You don't understand. This is
it's got Bacchic roots to it. You're absolutely
mainline Bacchic. This is Saba Zeus. Yeah,
this is what blew my mind about this video, because he's so in a different world than you that what you're saying went right over his head, as if I've never heard that before, so it must be wrong. They just assume you're wrong because they never heard that before. Because in Bible scholarship land, they don't look at Theosebes in its original context that you find in Plato, Aristophanes. What else did I cite here? Sophocles, Aristophanes, Plato, Herodotus. I keep going too. I give a whole bunch of examples, and it's the frenzied worship of a god. It's being inspired by God through this mania. And that's the context that it's used in. That word Usian right next to it, the holy ones, the Sabazios. That's what the word comes from. Yeah. You get Sabastes, you get Sabazios from there. It's all there. So let's continue.
Can I just ask before you continue, which is lovely. I love this. Did you doubt me along the way when I was saying this? It may have sounded crazy.
I did at first. Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
Back when we did this live stream, I had no idea what you were talking about. I just didn't know. I just had no clue. And then it's not, you're not wrong. The word does mean, the word in its context in these ancient Greek sources does mean what you're saying it means. It's just that they're seeing it in the Judeo-Christian context, where in the book of Acts, admittedly, and I say this in the video, in the book of Acts, they use that word God-fearer for the ones that are for the Gentiles that are worshiping, that are God-fearer, that are worshiping Jewish God. So that does happen. It does become that word. It can be defined that way, but it's did not originally mean that.
Right.
That's the important part. That's what you were saying too. So I'm just, that's why I made this video. I'm trying to show people this. Anyways, let's continue. Light of the lustral water that I invoke. The sacred chant. The word sacred is used as Theosebes. So you don't need God-fearing. You don't need Yahweh. You don't need Judaism. Xenophon Cyropadia. The word right here is oide theosebos pantes sune pekesan megale te phone. But all reverently, there's the word reverence, responded with a loud voice.
The notion that this Hebrew didn't pre-exist that title, that this is a translation from that title is nonsensical.
Damn. He just tried to make it seem like that this word does not predate the Hebrew. That's wrong, as I just showed. That's objectively wrong. That's not even like what you just said is not even a matter of opinion. It's just wrong what you just said. So okay,
word though,
so it's that's one word in Greek, right?
Right.
And then so if I say
it's a compound word though, because it's theos and the verb for fear. So
Theos
it's two
sabe-
of them being put
it's-
together into one word.
it's a-
now.
Because it's theos and the verb for fear.
Sabase is an adjective, like eosabase. Doesn't even so. This right here made me realize he's not familiar with this word. He's not reading Greek sources. This is, as I just demonstrated. I just gave you 5 different sources where this word is used. If he even ran into this one time, he would not have said that's a verb for fear. It's not a verb for fear. It's being translated as God fear because that's what we call it today. But that, if you wanted to break it down etymologically, it's not a verb for fear. But I break it down right here. What he just said demonstrates that has zero knowledge of the classics, because this is as Ammon pointed out a year ago, this is a very important technical religious term, theosabase. It's everywhere in the ancient classic sources. I just gave you a whole plethora of examples. This is a very common and very important word for studying ancient religion. To not know this is like calling yourself an expert in Marvel comics and not knowing who Peter Parker dates, Jane, whatever her name is. Like it's like basic shit that everyone knows, and you're just like, huh? Oh, it's the verb for fear, I think. God fearing? Oh, it must be the verb for fear then. Duh. No, you didn't check, and you don't know the sources. Sorry, but you're wrong, and this is objectively wrong. Anyways, I explain it right here. Pious. And phobos is a noun, which is fear. So theosabase can become God-fearing by definition, but it doesn't break down in the way he just said. God and sabase, theos being God, and sabase being the verb for fear. That's like saying Augustus, which in Latin or which in Greek means Sebastes. That's like saying Augustus is the feared one or the fearful one. It's not what it means. Like, that's not the verb for fear. It's not even a verb anyway. It's an adjective. That is not correct. You would not pass an exam if you wrote that down for the definition. That is not correct. Sebumenos is a worshiper, and a phobumenos is a fearer. Those are middle passive participles. Phobumai is to be scared and afraid, because it means life or death for a lot of people around the world. And when you're holding up the two, this is the last part that I'm going to show you, because the rest of the video is about this topic right here. 2 pillars of Christianity is special and unique and has no influence from any Greek mythology or philosophical pagan stuff. And the Old Testament is this ancient Bronze Age text that goes back all the way to Sumerians. When you tell people that stuff, you make them think that this book is magic. So the rest of the majority of the 2.5 hour video is about the idea. Like So first of all, I've actually, the reason why it's taking so long, because I had the interview with Jonathan Adler. So I'm going to feature him in the video a little bit on some parts about the dating the Old Testament, dating the Torah, when is the Torah being observed, all that stuff. We touch on that. I also had a discussion with an anthropologist who is a current professor over in Italy about dying and rising gods and James Fraser. Everything that Dan McClellan says about dying and rising gods and James Fraser, she says the exact opposite. So we got one who's a current professor who wrote her dissertation on James Fraser and dying and rising gods, current professor, anthropology, classic studies. So it's her field. She's dominating. She's the authority, not him. And then on the other side, you have a guy who doesn't know classics, who's not a current professor, who only studies Judeo-Christianity, and he's a Christian, and he's got a dog to fight in this thing. So I'm just saying, he's got somebody. I never let my bias get in the way. Oh, that's odd that you're not a Trinity. You don't believe in the Trinity, and Mormons are Unitarians, and what else? You think Moses was around in the 700s BC because you got the book of Nehi and Lehi, and they write about Moses. Just happens to be certain things that line up with it. I'm just putting it out there. All I'm saying is this: one expert who studies dying and rising gods, who's written dissertations on Inanna, dying for 3 days and resurrecting, which was celebrated at the spring equinox during the Akitu festival. Then you have Baal, who she says when Baal rises, they use a verb to stand. In Greek, the resurrection is the verb to stand. It's the same thing. It's just a different language, but using the same verb, to stand. She points that out very, very, very slickly. And then Dionysus, who she says is the most obvious example of a God who dies and resurrects. And not only does he die and resurrect, that his worship, his devotion, like the thing that makes Dionysus special is the fact that he's the God of resurrection. Like that's what he's like for example, at Delphi, at Delphi, it's the temple of Apollo where the Muses are. But on the bottom of the mountain, you have a tomb, and the tomb is for Dionysus. Dionysus is dead because Dionysus is the resurrection. That's what he was known for. For Jesus to come along and be a God of resurrection, you are directly in competition with the cult of Dionysus, 100%. And so the whole chunk of this video is showing when they talk about Hilaria, the look on Dan's face, it's like he's never heard of it. This is the first time he's ever heard of the Hilaria. How do you not know about the Hilaria and you call yourself a scholar of religion? Every main textbook about Roman religion, whether it be Mary Beard, whether it be what else do I got here? Ancient Greek religion. Let's see. All the source books, all the good source books. Here we go. Greek religion, that's in here. The ancient mysteries. What else do I got? I wish I had more. I wish I was more prepared to show. Anyways, here's a big one. Mary Beard's Roman religion. Basically any source book that you can think of. No, that's not it. Any Roman religion source book that you can think of is going to have at least a chapter, if not multiple chapters, on the Hilaria and how important it was during the March equinox for the Romans. And it's initiated in the early 1st century during the reign of Claudius. So after the reign of Claudius, you have a resurrection festival in Rome during the same week that Jesus resurrects. Now, notice how I didn't make any arguments. I didn't say one's copying the other. All I'm doing is giving you a fact. There's a fact. Hilaria was celebrated by the Romans during the week of the spring equinox, March 22nd to 25th. That's a fact. Notice how I don't even say it. And all I have to do is say that, and you start getting pushback. No, that's zeitgeist. No, that's mythicism. I didn't even say anything. I didn't even say Christians copied it. But that's their knee-jerk reaction because it's like they have to defend it for some reason. There's an emotional response to this topic. And the reason why you know he has this emotional response to this topic is how often he talks about this subject. Once a week at least. He's doing a new video about zeitgeist, about some random Ralph Ellis or whoever. I don't even know these people half the time. He's rebutting videos from like 10 years ago about people who compare Krishna and Jesus that nobody even pays attention to. So it's like the main thing that he studies and is focused on is this random topic that I think is like totally meaningless. Any thoughts on that? I have one more thing that I want to show. Any thoughts on that?
I'm getting so full of yummy, Dan. Oh, this is the best barbecue of any human soul I've ever had because look at how in your face with the reasoning. I love that 79,900. What was it? 45?
Dude,
right?
You got
breaking off that BS is you can't do anything. That's Herculean, man. Beautiful job. Let's finish the clips.
All right. So the last thing that I wanted to show you was, I think I have it here. Pretty sure I have. Here it is. Okay. So this is the last thing. All right. Let me just pull this image up and I'll tell you when I'm going to share my screen. Okay. And this is going to be in the video too. I just didn't bring the clip, but it's in the video. He posted this recently. And we were all talking about how this happened. Okay. We all enjoyed this. It was a great, I thought it was awesome. Shout outs to the Olympics because they did a great job with this opening ceremony. That's very Dionysian. It's very Greek. It's very Olympic. They did a great job. I give them an A+. I enjoyed it, and it had nothing to do with Jesus and the Last Supper, because the Last Supper was using the same imagery that the Renaissance painters used for the symposium of Dionysus and Apollo. So, anyways, it's easy. It's funny how Christians will mix this up. So somebody made this post. Now I'm just going to say off the bat that I don't agree with all this. I think this person's pushing the limit, especially when they use the word plagiarize. Don't use that word. Plagiarize is a specific thing when you actually take words and copy and paste them. Inspired by. Just use the word inspired by, or competing with, or polemicizing. Sometimes they flip things. Sometimes things are the opposite, but that's still inspired by, right? So you don't use the word plagiarize. Whoever made this, I'm trying to help you out. All right, he says Dionysus had a divine father and mother, was sacrificed, died, and resurrected. That's true. That's true. So far, we're good. Wine symbolizes his blood. That's also true. And I show the sources for this. By the way, everything in here, I'm going to show every primary source for it. All of it predating Christianity. Was a traveling teacher who performed miracles? So was everyone else. I don't think anyone really cares about that part. Turned water into wine at a wedding. That is also true. That's from a 3rd century BC source. It's also from Pliny the Younger. It's also in Pausanias, which is contemporary with the Gospels. So he doesn't know the Gospels. So anyways, we have sources for that. Was associated with a purple cloak. That's true. He wears a purple cloak in the Homeric hymn to Dionysus. The first thing it says is Dionysus appeared at the shore. Beautiful was his hair, locks. He's wearing an ivy diadem and a purple cloak. So the person says he has a crown of thorns. That's not true, because the crown of thorns represents death. Dionysus represents life. Jesus is the god of death. He wears the crown of thorns. He's going to his grave. He's going to the cross. Dionysus wears a crown of ivy that's full of swelling fruits and berries and a pine cone. So that there you have a polemic going on there. Dionysus. So there might be something going on with them putting on a crown of thorns on Jesus' head as his own image, because Apollo wears a crown, Aphrodite wears a crown, all the sons and daughters of gods have their own specific crown. So Jesus wearing a crown of thorns could be his own specific thing that they're doing because he's a god that's about to die. That's as far as I would go. But I would never say that Dionysus and Jesus had the same crown. Don't do that. Was said to be twice born or born again. That's true. Was born of a virgin on December 25th and was called the Holy Child. This is actually kind of true, but the sources for this are after the Gospels. But I do talk about how it's not as black and there's some nuances here. This is mentioned in Macrobius's Saturnalia that Bacchus and Apollo are born on the winter solstice. And Epiphanius does say that Ion or Deucharis were born of the Cori. That's Persephone at December 25th, called the Holy Child. So there is some sort of nuance going on there, but the way he argued it is incorrect. God of the vine. Jesus is the God of the vine. That's also true. Had 12 disciples. Why? Who cares about 12 disciples? He has satyrs and maenads, but it doesn't say 12. Okay. Now, did he ride triumphant on a procession donkey? Yes, he does. In the story of the frogs by Aristophanes, he rides into Athens on a donkey, and then he goes down into Hades, performs the catabasis, raises Aeschylus from the dead, and comes back from Hades triumphantly and does the anabasis. So it's a descent and return story, and you have a donkey riding into the city scene, and there's dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of pottery showing the scene of Dionysus riding on a donkey. This pottery would have been in circulation in Judea during the time of Zechariah. Zechariah might have saw this and used this. I'm just saying. I'm not saying we could prove that, but I think it's plausible. Now, what does Dan say about this? Dan, the expert, right? He's the expert on this stuff. He's going to be the judge, right? He's going to be he says, I'm the referee here. I'm going to be calling balls and strikes. He says, as far as I know, now I'm glad he starts to say this now, because he used to not say this. He used to say, there is no sources, as if he read every single text in the world and knew this. But I've been calling him out on this lately, and I think I'm part of the reason why he says, as far as I know. Because now he can say, well, I only said as far as I know. But let's see what he says. I'm glad, by the way, that's what you're supposed to say. As far as I know is what you're supposed to say. Because nobody knows everything. You can always be proven wrong, right? He says, the only things on this list that are true are that Dionysus had a divine father and mortal mother that has performed miracles, and that he was the god of the vine. What? Are you kidding me? So Dan McClellan doesn't even know that Dionysus has a resurrection story. That's mind-blowing. And he's going around talking about dying and rising gods don't exist, not even knowing that Dionysus is the prime example of a god who dies and resurrects. Has no idea. Just never read that text. It took him 15 years to get his PhD, as he says. Never once came across the text of Dionysus and being torn apart by the Titans, and then coming back triumphantly.
By the way, can I just say, anybody who knows anything about the cult of the mystery knows that Dionysus provides for us that prototypic journey into Hades and retrieval again. And funny thing was, in the ceremony that they talk about with Dionysus, it's always related that over the grave of the person who showed him the entryway to hell, he plants a dildo, and he uses the dildo on himself. Yeah, it's when people talk about Osiris, don't be surprised, you know what I mean? But this is the mystery cult. So the fact that Dan can't recognize this is it's for the reason that he hasn't stepped outside his own theologians. He's not, it's like you said, he's not well versed. I mean, yummy. This is yummy, isn't it? But he's not well versed, man.
So let's go over what he doesn't know and what we can prove right now that Dan McClellan doesn't know about, right? So let me pull up this. Let me pull up that list again. I'm going to get to this in a second, but first let me go back to this list. So he says the only thing that's true here is that he's a divine father and mortal mother, and that he performed miracles, and that he's a god of the vine. Divine father, mortal mother. So he doesn't even say anything about his wine being the blood of Bacchus being symbolized by wine in the Eleusinian mysteries. That's all over the sources. Even Clement of Alexandria specifically talks about that. He doesn't know about him being sacrificed as the bull, dying and resurrected. He's the bull and there's actually texts about being washed in the blood of the bull. And the bull is marked as Sabazius. There's that word Saba again. It all comes full circle, right? So I show that too. He doesn't know that he had a triumphant procession. He doesn't know that he wore purple, which is he doesn't even know the basics. The basics to know Dionysus, you have to at least know the hymn to Dionysus, the Homeric hymn to Dionysus, where it introduces him wearing an ivy crown and having a purple cloak. That's what it does. But here's the big one that I want to point out. He mentions, if anyone can find anything else, make sure you find the story, and it has to predate the whole story of Jesus' ministry. What? All right. These are these Orphic tablets that are floating around all over the Mediterranean. They date between the oldest ones go back to like 500, 600 BC, maybe 500 BC, and then all the way up to the 400s BC. They're everywhere. They look like this. They're golden tablets, and they're Greek. These even exist in Israel. They even found these in Israel. That's how far. They're all over the Mediterranean, and they're called Orphic tablets. They're usually buried with the dead, and it's messages into Hades on how to get through Hades and how to get reincarnated the right way. One of them reads this. This is a translation from Reedwig, 1998. And it says, on the one side, it says, but in front of you will the cold water flowing forth from the lake of memory. Guardians pass above. They will surely ask you with their crowded thoughts. For what reason do you seek darkness of dank Hades? And you say, I am the child of earth and starry Aranos, Gaia and Uranos. And when you say that, it tells them that you're part of the Mustai, the mystery. You're an initiate, and you're a Bakoi. Okay. So in order to be resurrected, in order to take part in the resurrection, you have to drink the Kaikion. It says it right there. They will give you the drink of Lake of Memory. When you drink, you will travel a road, the sacred road, which other famous initiates, Mustai, same root of the word mystery of Christ, all that. And you're a Bakoi. So to take part in eternal life, you have to know this. Check this out. The other side says this. It's dedicated to Dionysus the Releaser, and it's cut in the shape of ivy leaves, Dionysus Lucios. And it says, now you died, and now you were born, thrice blessed one, on this day. That's about Dionysus. He's the thrice blessed one. Tell Pharsphona, the Bacchic one himself has released you. A bowl, there's the sacrifice. So right here, we just knocked off two of Dan's that he didn't know. That he's a sacrifice and that he has a resurrection. The bowl, as a bowl, you leaped into milk. That's the image of the sacrifice. Suddenly you leaped into the milk. A ram, you fell into the milk. You shall have wine as your blessed honor. There's the wine as representing Bacchus. And ritual celebrations await you under the earth and all other blessed ones too. Now, this is clear. Any classicists will know this, that Dionysus is all about resurrection. Diodorus of Sicily tells us stories about the resurrection of Dionysus as a child being torn apart. This predates Christianity by decades, but being torn apart as a child and then coming back to life as immortal, as a son of a mortal, Semele. Semele is his second birth. Persephone is his first birth. He has two mothers. That's a resurrection. So there's no way around that. He just does not know what he's doing. And I think if he was smart, he would stick to the Hebrew Bible, stick to what you're good at, and leave the classics the hell alone, because you're just embarrassing yourself. And I'm not. This is just 1% of what I got coming out. This is just a touch of what I got coming out.
Oh God, that was so satisfying. I don't know if it was your intention to take me to that climax, but that was absolutely fantastic. I don't know about the Satanic Congregation, but okay, this type of feeding is something that you vampires have got to have, right? You've just got to have this. Look at it. Oh God, it's so elegant, right? And it's just
I got something to say about that. When you hear a so-called academic say something about a topic that you're deeply interested in, something that you study on your own, I don't know, maybe you're a fan of Plutarch. Let's say you love Plutarch's lives, and you've read the life of Antony, you've read the life of Demetrius, you've read the life of Lycurgus and Solon, and you love these lives that Plutarch writes. And then some fresh PhD comes out. They just got their PhD a couple years ago, right? And then you hear him speaking on this subject, and you go, oh, cool, an expert talking about the subject that I love. Let's hear what they say. If something they say doesn't piss you off, then you don't have gnosis. It should. You should be able to hear something that someone else is saying, and it should piss you off if you disagree with it.
It's a code of honor. It's a code of honor, and Heracles had it, and classical philologists have it, and they can hear when something is off and you are not representing those sources faithfully. So yeah, I love that. I absolutely love it. What a meal! What a delicious meal! What I would like to know is, if you're going to say anything about Dionysus and you don't understand that it was the Athana that preserved that heart of Dionysus when he was sacrificed. If you don't understand that, Ron, you got no ears to hear. That was going on way long time ago. And that visit to the underworld, the very fact, I mean, the Greeks had a name, right? They had a name for the process of you getting high and going to the underworld and coming back. And Odysseus, who was looking for the poison arrow, the arrow poison in the beginning, he is the one who takes the trip. And it's that woman, Circe, who scares us all, she puts drugs in food. She puts drugs in food and she causes men to turn into pigs. She's the one who shows Odysseus, and people don't know it, but she goes back. She finds Odysseus after he goes home, and she tries to sleep with his son. So what happens? She kills Odysseus and brings him back to life, right? She goes through the very same process. They call it the necromantia, right? The necromantic oracle. It's when you can project to the other side and be brought back, right?
This is important because some people try to distinguish between dying and resurrected and then a hero descending into Hades and returning. To me, that's a very minor detail to worry about. What matters more is the descent and the return, which is what Christ was doing in his 3 days in Hades. He was performing this katabasis and the anabasis. Now, Hilaria is one of the big topics of this video that's about to come out, because Dan has no idea about the Hilaria. He's never heard of it. He makes this weird face when Danny shows him the Hilaria. He goes, "This was the Hilaria they celebrated in Rome from March 22nd, and on the March 25th they had a day of rejoicing." I'm sorry. March 25th was the day of blood and the day of burial, and they buried the pine tree. And on the 28th, and the third day, or the 27th, I think it was, on the third day is the day of rejoicing. And Dan goes, he makes his face. He goes, "That can't be right." And by the way, and I noticed, and I played it back, and I go, I'm watching this, and I'm playing it back. When did Danny even make an argument that Christianity was borrowing from he never did. It never got brought up. Dan McClellan assumed, because Danny was bringing up this festival, and it's fascinating. The first thing you thought about was Easter, Easter, Easter. He didn't even say Easter. He never even brought up Easter. All Danny, this is so fascinating. It's so perfect, actually. It's a perfect case study on Bible scholars that protect Easter. Danny, that doesn't even say anything about Easter. All he did was go, "Here's the Hilaria. This is what they did on this festival." And Danny goes, "I've never heard that before. That's complete mythicist nonsense. The idea this was all Danny never even said anything about mythicism. He never even brought it up.
Yeah.
What does that tell you?
Yeah.
It tells you two things. Number one, he's never heard of Hilaria before. Number two, it bothered him to know that there was a festival that has another resurrection, and it predates Christianity.
Yeah.
And so, by the way, last thing I want to say too, guess what the name of the Greek version of the Hilaria was in Phrygia? When they imported this rites from Phrygia in 204 BCE, we don't know what happened between 204 BCE, and I make this clear in my video. By the time they get it in 204 BCE, we don't know what was going on. We think it was in early April and not in late March. And the reign of not Caligula, and the reign of I just said it too. Who's after? In the reign of Claudius in the 40s AD. In the reign of Claudius, they shift it and they turn it into the Hilaria. So that's when you get, and this is before the Gospels. This is Paul was alive during this time period. It's weird. It's right after Jesus dies. Weird. It's very eerie that they had this festival imported in Rome, and they end up shifting it, the dates. At first, it was in the first week of April, because Ovid mentions the festival of Cybele, but it's the first week of April. And he doesn't mention any resurrection of Attis. The first time you start getting sources about the resurrection of Attis is Claudius. And Claudius's family was called the Attides. So they had this big, deep devotion to Attis. And that's why they did this. Now, the question I wanted to ask you is, guess what the name of the Greek version of the Hilaria was called when it was over in Phrygia between 204 and in the Hellenistic period, let's say. you want to know?
Okay. No, that wasn't what I was going to say, but the Catabasis. Yeah.
The Catabasia. It's literally called the Descent Festival. So that's how it literally proves that this was about a descent and a return. So people who say, oh, we don't even know if there was a resurrection involved that early on. That might have been a 1st century thing, 2nd century thing. Well, why is it called the Catabasia then? Why would they name it that?
Yeah.
I think the name alone tells us a lot. That name speaks volumes.
Does it make no? It's a absolutely perfect point, straight on, and it's right in the language. You can't deny it because you've got the language reflecting it. So it's not like you can say, like Dan usually does, and say, well, that's different for the, there's 2 different worlds that we can treat here, pagan and Christian. No. Look at what the language is showing us, right? It's naming that right. Gorgeous. Now do you understand why Julian was saying you cannot let Christians teach classics? You can't let them do that. He associated the teaching of classics and its corruption by Christianity, and he considered that the reason for the fall, right? He was trying to fight that the very thing that you're doing with Dan, Ducktail Dan. That's amazing. That's amazing. Glorious job, brother. Nice job.
That's another cult that Dan doesn't have any clue about, because he's made claims in the past that Mithras, Sol Invictus are two different cults. They're not the same cult. They're actually the same. It's actually the same cult. Spoiler alert. Mithras, and by the way, there are depictions of a Mithras and Sol Invictus as 2 different characters on the same mosaic, but that's actually more rare than it is to find one character of a bull-slaying god where it literally says Mithras, Sol Invictus as one name. That's the more common. So it's more common than not. I would say 9-1, not 7-3, not 6-4, 9-1. You find Mithras, Sol Invictus as one god. And then on a rare few of occasions, you'll see an image of Mithras, and it looks like a twin, Sol Invictus, and they're both standing there. So it's like, but it's still the same cult. It's still the Roman imperial cult. So you can't separate those 2. Anyways, that's another part of the video.
I noticed. Let me ask you a question.
Religion. He has no knowledge of Roman religion.
Let me ask you a question. I noticed you used the Orphic plates. And those are, they're really thin, but they, like you say, they put them with the dead bodies, and they're very good instructions. The instructions are the cult secret, right? The cult secret. Think
about it. It's like Christ, where you're crying out to Christ for help for resurrection. Yeah. They're crying out to Dionysus for resurrection. Dionysus is the resurrection. It doesn't say Zeus. It doesn't say Attis. It doesn't say Cybele. It doesn't say Saturn or Uranus. It's Dionysus. I'm dead. Help me. Yeah. Think about how important that is.
Yeah, the thing that I found so beautiful the first time I read that was the fact that you don't stop at Lethe like everybody else does. Everybody else stops at Lethe and drinks. And you know what happens? Lethe is forgetfulness.
And then you get that's why you don't remember your last life.
You keep going, and there is a phrase. They say you'll come to these guardians, and there is a phrase that you have to utter, right? Those magical phrases that Jesus and the Magi are so well known for are coming from this death and resurrection mystery that the Orphics are performing. And I don't want to say Orphics because it focuses on just Orpheus. Orpheus was just the friggin' musician poet who works with Medea. She's the one who starts the rite. He's the one who takes up the poetry from it. So, yeah, okay. But I do want to say, when you get into that level where you're in the rite and they're performing the rite and you get technical terminology, just like the catabasis that you just brought up, you have to realize this is the terminology that's being used by the cult, right? So when you come across
Saba. And by the way, Demosthenes in the 5th century or 4th century BC, what does he say in one of his speeches? He talks about the cult of Dionysus. And what does he say? They chant, Iwa Saba, Iwa Saba. That's a Dionysian word. It's talking Saba. That's right there. It means it's like venerate, venerate, venerate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's essentially what that verb means. I've seen that verb a lot. And essentially it means to reverence. It means to put yourself into that position of reverential awe. You're in
it's
that.
It's like divine mania.
Yeah, you're august, right? Oh, there's that.
And that's what
there's that power.
It's the Holy Spirit, Christianity. It's the same thing.
Love it.
It's having the Holy Spirit. And that's what they're doing. And that's why I made the point where it's like, is Christianity a mystery religion? Well, if we want to classify it that way, fine.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm saying, and I say fine, because I think it's an arbitrary thing to even have that category, because they're all religions are sort of mystery religions in a way. They all have some form of initiation. They all have some form of drink, some form of ritual immersion in some water, some sort of baptism, some sort of holy secrets, some sort of like text, right? They all have those factors. So mystery religion, secret religion, they're all that way. So Christianity,
you forgot the dildos they've got, and you forgot the penis-shaped cups that Juvenile talks about, all the Baptists carry around. You forgot the drugs. You forgot the Christings. You forgot all of that juicy stuff.
That's the inner mystery.
Yeah.
So
dude,
that's for those who have ears to hear. That's where you get the Borborites. The Borborites and the Ophites. Those are the inner mysteries.
Yeah.
The outer mysteries is Catholicism and Orthodoxy. That's the outer mystery. That's just go twice a year to church and get your communion and go home. Because you don't have ears to hear. You don't have it.
I've got a question for you. If you're Jesus and like Paul, you've picked out your 12 boys and you're doing your Christing thing and you're pushing the thorn in the flesh, you're getting to that place where you're entering into the mystery with those boys. Do you do what he reportedly did with Mary when he pleasured himself and then offered to her his semen and said, eat this or die? Do you think that the same thing, if he's feeding, here's my question now, if Jesus will feed Mary his semen, would he have fed his young students his semen too?
Oh, I thought if we were to go back in time and join a Borborite ecclesia and see what they're doing down in those catacombs, down deep in the caverns somewhere where the sun don't shine. Oh, hell yeah, they're doing that shit. This is that, and we're talking. What's so crazy? People say that's a late 4th century source. Yeah, but did you read it? He's talking about it. He's talking about a group from the 1st century.
Yeah,
that's what he says.
Yeah,
that's what he says. And the Greater Questions of Mary was a 1st century document, according to according to what they're talking about. So it's like, even though the source is late, we don't have it. We have to go through those sources. And it's like what you mentioned before about Julian saying that we should not let the Christians teach the classics. Why? Because they're full of shit.
Yeah.
Justin Martyr's trying to make the claim that the Mithras of the mysteries of Mithras is copying Christianity with their Eucharist, and that Mercury is called the Logos because he's copying Jesus. When we know objectively, we can find Greek sources from the classical period about Mercury, about Hermes being called the Logos, and we can find sources from the Hellenistic era about Mithras giving, or Zoroaster giving his Eucharist in honor of Mithras. That's in Plutarch, by the way. You also have Eusebius, but this is before Julian. So this is probably what Julian was talking about. Eusebius in the around 325 AD, somewhere around this time, he writes a book called The Preparation of the Gospel. And what does he say in this book? Well, in this book, he does a lot of classic teaching. He says Plato was inspired by Moses. He says that Orpheus was the son of Moses. He says all this wild shit that has no basis on it. And so Julian comes along 2 or 3 decades later And this is the world that he's in. He's seeing people like Eusebius interpolating Josephus, forging documents, making up stories about Plato being inspired by Moses. What is going on? And so I don't blame Julian. They were doing some straight up shit that would get you fired from a university if it would happen today. There's no way Eusebius would be a professor today. He'd be fired first day for doing all the forgery shit.
And the problem is they didn't, and this will feed right into your Dark Ages, they didn't just mess up classical civilization with respect to its cult. They messed up the science, right? It's not just that you don't want them telling history, because anybody who's a member of a cult, let me just explain. Anybody who's a member of a cult is not going to give you a straight story. They're going to give you a bent story, right? The people who go into the Bacchic worship come out of it saying, I'm born again. Why? Because they saw things.
Right.
Right? That is the bent of the initiate. Anybody who's been into Christianity has a bent. And Julian recognized it and said, it's an anti-classical bent. It's going to take our stuff and it's going to destroy it. And sure enough, it did. It did. And you get Dark Ages of crap art and crap literature. It's not even literature.
Yeah.
Disappears. The stage disappears. People say, oh, there's this type of play. Yeah, when you got with some dorks that walk along a path and do some clownery, that's not the same thing.
They had all these
ancient
Greek sources. There's all these different modes of music, all these different ways to play the harp and the drums, and they explain it. There's the Phrygian mode. There's the Dorian mode. There's the dithyrambos. There's the Paean. There's all these different triumph tunes that you can play. They have all these different great music. Music is blowing up, right? You have all these famous poets. You have Pindar. You have Homer. You have Aeschylus, you have Sophocles, and they're doing comedy, they're doing tragedy, they're doing satire, they're doing all these great stuff. And the world is very colorful, and the architecture looks great. Cool Doric columns, Corinthian columns, temples dedicated to goddesses that look beautiful, and everyone can go there and have a good time and enjoy the festival, drink wine, and and everybody's living in this polis, and civilization is kicking. And then all of a sudden, by the way, and this is the other aspect of it. You have Aristotle's philosophy, which is updated on Plato's philosophy, which is updated on Socrates, which is updated on Antisthenes and Thales and Parmenides and Heraclitus. And there's a big line of thinking, and it's all updating itself, updating itself. Aristotle sort of becomes canon, right? And he's people are just sort of gelling with Aristotle. And Galen, the medical side, that's the philosophy side, the science side. On the medical side, you have Galen, which updates Dioscorides, which updates Hippocrates, right? And there's all these different updates of different textbooks that are coming out, just like you see today in academia. New scholars come along and they update the previous ones. This is how the ancient Greek world was like. What happened to that system? Galen and Aristotle did not get updated until the 16th century. Did you know? People don't even know this.
Okay, wait. That's brilliant. Let me interrupt. That's absolutely brilliant what you just noticed. Absolutely brilliant. Everything was set in stone. Galen was the last guy that the steps or the bridge included. All the way up to like 1850, he dominated. Why? Where's the stepwise progress? Yeah, it makes you think.
The main focus was on the church. That was the whole world. The whole world was centered around the church. From I want to say people like you get Gibbon wants to say it's 476. I'll go farther back than that. I'll say third century actually. The collapse of the 3rd century. That's the end. I think that's when it's just darkness from then on. All the way until around like 1200, right before the Renaissance, you start getting all these brilliant writers. Here's one, for example, Flavio. Biondo Flavio is one of the texts that I'm reading right now. Great. He starts getting back into the classics. He starts writing about Cybele and Attis and Adonis and Dionysus. He starts writing about all these ancient cults again. And it's getting back into the subconscious people again. It's getting back. People are reading about all the classics again. But here's the point that I'm making is there was no theater. There was no Homer. They didn't have Aeschylus anymore. And then people, so I've heard people argue, oh, they had classic texts in those periods. Okay, I'll give you a 500-year span. I'll give you 500 years. 500 AD to 1000 AD. What do you got? Beowulf. Oh, really? Beowulf. That's it.
You get
That's
church fathers. Yeah, no, you'll get smelly, stale church fathers who suck nut.
Those are all dissertations on the Trinity, on Mother Mary and her divine nature, on the nature of Christ, on Christ and his flesh nature, on the Epistle of Paul, on this text that's on the Epistle of Paul, on Augustine, on this. They're all just writing about each other. They're all just circle jerking each other about Christianity for 500 years. They're not doing Homer anymore. They're not making tragedies anymore. They're not having big festivals anymore in honor of Dionysus. They're not doing games of Caesar anymore.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
they can't. No, they can't because that jerk Theodosius outlawed it. They can't do anything. They can't. The oracles have shut down. They can't do any of that stuff anymore.
They outlawed frivolous laughter. They said if you laugh too hard, you're honoring Dionysus. And that's the best picture. This is what I'm bringing this to my debate for when I debate the Dark Ages. It's a decree from 609 AD in Constantinople. It's a papal or not papal, patriarchal decree. And it's at one of these councils of Trent or something. I can't remember the name of it. Council of something, council of whatever. Who cares? And it says right in there, if you are caught laughing hysterically while producing wine, you can be arrested because that means that you're contributing to Dionysus. And they call him the abominable Dionysus. I love it. He's the devil, and I love it. That's the devil. That's Satan. Dionysus is Satan. But it's so hilarious about what he represents: laughter, fun, joy, loving the world, loving yourself, enjoying life.
Hilarity.
Too. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
It's hilarious. It's hilariously simple. Exactly. No, I love it. I love it. What do you think is the key? Let me ask you this. What do you think is the key to exposing? Because Dan and this sort of individual, they're all over the place. There's way more of them than there are of us. So what do you see as a way forward?
Well, one thing I notice about people like that is they don't seem genuinely interested in these subjects. They seem more genuinely interested in pushing themselves up a ladder and running. I'm going to run for office. It's all about me. They're not trying to contribute to the knowledge base. It's not like scholar. That's the one thing about people like James Frazier is they're genuinely trying to read about the past, read about as many sources as possible, come up with some sort of explanation of all this stuff, put it all together so that you read about it too. Today, it's all about just rubbing the right people the right way so that you can stay in the positive light. And look how great this person is. Look how great of a scholar he is. They just wrote about feminism in the Bible. Whoa, that's so cool. It's that's what's going on right now. It's more about promoting yourself and making everyone look how great of a scholar you are, rather than actually doing what scholars are supposed to do. That's what I've noticed.
It's called "You Tickle My Taint, I'll Tickle Yours." Yeah,
you get your book deal. You don't have to worry about who buys it on Amazon because it's going to get sold to all these universities, and then they're going to use that, and then then someone else's tuition is going to go up because they got to pay for that somehow. And now you wonder why it's $100,000 to go to school.
Yeah,
because everybody's got all these professors who got their book deals. They get their paid transit so they can travel and go on vacation to Greece and enjoy themselves and not do any work while they're there. And just enjoy Greece and enjoy their free travel that your tuition is going to pay for.
Right. That's
what the system is. That's education right now.
It's a bit of a business, you know what I mean? It's a bit of a business. And because it's a business, their mouths are bound. They are bound by certain things. There's things that you and I discuss here.
They can't talk about it, right?
There's no way. I know for a fact there are classicists who hear it and they're like, yeah, go, you go. I had a professor write me a letter. And say, when everything was happening with them saying I couldn't talk about drugs in antiquity, saying, I've got a lot of respect for you. And I wish I could be public, but I'll lose my job. And I thought, you know what? That's a shame that the system is like that. You know, everybody thinks it's a bunch of liberals running a system of mind alteration. No, you idiots. You're just saying it because you've never been. Do you know what it is? It's a business. And people they suck the butt that they have to suck in order to keep that cashola coming in. And you know, I have never met a professor who was a tenured professor who didn't have a considerable number of nice things and was comfortable. I've never met a tenured professor. And the bigger the school, the more prestige. Did you smell the prestige on Dan? The false prestige. It's a perfume they wear, right? The more prestige you have, the bigger your house. I'm not kidding you. I've been in a lot of universities.
People like that, you can tell that you had 15 years to just pay attention to school and be a scholar. I never had an opportunity like that. I had to go to work in a factory. I actually dropped out of college because I didn't have enough money to go there.
Yeah.
I couldn't get I didn't have someone paying for my college. I didn't have a Mormon family that's just you're gonna be a scholar. Like, no, nobody, everyone's like, are you getting a job? There's a factory down the street that's open. You're gonna go there. We need you. You need to get a job. You need to get out of that. Like, I had to work. So like most people don't have the opportunity just to be a scholar and then take 15 years out of their life and rack up debt that they're not worried about, and then just kind of sit around and be on TikTok all day. That's the most privileged shit I've ever seen in my entire life. And you can see it.
Yeah.
It's obvious.
Yeah.
It's obvious. It reeks. It reeks. So let's just say that.
It's corrupt, and it's so greed filled that whatever the greed is going to tell you to do, that's what you're going to do. Those are the kind of books you're going to produce, and that's the kind of quote unquote scholarship you're going to produce. Look at somebody who's been through a theology training and they don't even realize. These are people who are making comments about the Septuagint and about the Torah and the Dead Sea Scrolls. They don't even realize of the basic facts of their own language that they're supposed to be studying. I thought it was hilarious when the head of Hebrew University's Hebrew program, that he works with the government. That dude works with the government to set the modern Hebrew language, right? Which is different. It's got like 60,000 words, I think was the last count. Okay, that's good. That's a lot. That's a good amount. He's the one who came out and he said in an article, he said there's only 7,000. I'll let him be the expert because he's the expert. I knew it was around 9,000, but he says there's really only 7,000 unique words. So, okay, it's even lower than we thought. The fact that somebody can be sitting in front of you in a green t-shirt and can say to you, this is the way it is. It's 79 point whatever. Dude, you're in a back alley. Neil, didn't I used to tell you? Didn't I used to tell you that you can get taken into a back alley by these experts and these scholars?
Yeah, but the thing that drove me crazy from that clip was the smug smile that he must have thought 70,000, but he really meant he must have heard 7 and thought 70, and he just was, or he must have heard 70, or what did he say? 7? Yeah, the other way around. He must have heard 70 and thought 7, and he got it off. Little does he know that smirk is for himself. He's the one that got it all up. So that's why it's that smugness was like, wow. Yeah. the confidence, the pride that I could just go into this podcast, not check, and just think that I know everything in my head that without even have to check. And then, but, oh shit, I was wrong. Oh fuck, how am I going to cover this up? Oh, let's just say that I knew it the whole time, but I leaned into the wrong answer. Come on, you knew you were going there for that question. It's the first question he asked you.
Yeah.
First question he asked you.
Yeah.
Before we go,
know that was.
Before we go,
Yes.
do you have anything else you want to say about that or no?
No. I just want to say thank you for going back to the sources to be able. When you said I'm going to show all the sources for each of these, dude, that lightsaber of yours, nothing can stop it. Nothing can stop that. That is so friggin' Renaissance of you.
Yeah. By the way,
baby.
Speaking of sources, somebody in the comments was asking what I was talking about with the laughing thing. What source is he talking about? So I just pulled it up. And if you want, this is Dark Ages for you right here. People who deny that Dark Ages is a term that we should still use. I question you on what do you think about this? All right. You have the 62nd canon of Constantinople forbade the invocation of the name of the abdominal Dionysus when grapes were crushed in the wine vats. Viticulturists were also cautioned to avoid frivolous laughter. No more laughter. You're not allowed to laugh. No more fun. Isn't that crazy? That's dark. That is Dark Ages to me. I don't care what you say. This happens in the 8th century. This is in the midst of the Dark Ages. This is the middle of the Dark Ages.
No more hilarity, baby. You got to shut down the hilarity. You know, they've got laws in the new plan of 2025. They're going to force anti-pornography laws, and they're going to say that even a discussion is forbidden, right? We're going back to those. We're going back to those roots, those medieval BS roots that we're gonna have to live up to. What do you think? That's the last question I want to ask. What's the secret here? I know I like to come back to this frequently.
Real quick on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Somebody recently made a comment about Islam, and they go, "That's some Stone Age crap right there," because I guess like there was like something about Islam like being terrorists or whatever. That's some Stone Age stuff, and I just thought to myself, no, the Stone Age is actually very beautiful. Matriarchal societies, you had the worship of Kubaba in the Stone Age.
Yeah.
You had the cultivation of the vine at the end of the Stone Age. You had Crete, Minoan and Crete at the end of the Stone Age. Not Minoan and Crete, but just Crete.
Yeah. You know, there was though.
Let me finish this thought. What they're actually referring to is the Middle Ages. They instead of saying that's some Stone Age crap, they should be saying that's some Middle Ages crap right there. The Middle Ages is worse than Stone Age.
They did have. We gotta recognize that there was a movement. Somebody told me it was the Abbasids. Check me if that's right or not. But they were building, man. Muslim culture was building libraries at one point, right? Building libraries. And the only reason I know that I've got Muslim brothers and sisters who followed classical antiquity is because they took authors like Galen and they translated them into classical Arabic. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, the original Galen was lost. So the Arab Muslim culture,
the Abbasids were the Golden Age.
Were the ones who were bringing us classical. You mentioned how classical stuff kind of percolates. It was just as much classical for them, and they loved it. Right. You know, and it was they're the
ones that preserved Aristotle when the Greeks weren't, or in the Latin.
Oh God, what smarties!
And by the way, that's the point that you just gave me my point. When they say that's some Stone Age crap, when they're talking about Islam, to be specific, it's more to be more specific. It's Middle Ages Christian crap. Because that's what the Christians in the Middle Ages were acting like.
It's modest.
Yeah.
It's modest. And anytime you get mystical or mysticism that is influencing the monism, it always creates a polytheistic escape. and you get people who suddenly appreciate all of the alchemy and things like that. You get people who bring back the classics. It's the cure of monism. Mysticism is the cure of monism. Well, the best thing that we can do is show people the rights that Jesus Christ himself is a part of. And when they see that, they'll know who they are. The bad thing is when you understand what antiquity was actually all about, and you're into that dirt, and you see those drugs and you see those sex rights, you know, it puts you into a place that you have to question. You have to question, who the hell am I? Who the hell am I? What kind of belief system do I have? When did it evolve? And where did it come from? Because you're not doing the original, baby. You're not doing the original thing that Jesus was doing.
Right.
So, yeah, love it. Love it.
Yeah, I would argue that Dios Vault is the equivalent of Allah Akbar. Because that's what they were chanting back in the Middle Ages when they were trying to go and sack Jerusalem and take it back. Dios Vault! Dios Vault! It's the same. They were literally acting like that. So the things that you're complaining about, the things that you don't like about Hamas, are the things that your Christian forefathers were doing in the Middle Ages. Same shit.
Right, exactly. That's why I thought that line with Lucifer and the tyrant was so important, right? Always keep that in mind. Keep that. What is that tyranny, baby? If you do, you'll be free. And I hope that that's a perfect way to send you off, because you're going to go off to Florida. I wish I was going with you. You're going to go off to Florida, and you're going to have a couple of great interviews, and you're going to represent the sources in a world that doesn't want that. It wants a monist, false reality that is a fairy tale. And everybody is satanic. All the satanic congregation, everybody at Lady Babylon here, that's why you come here, is you are dope heads for reality. You want that reality. So I love it. I love it. Neil, thank you for coming tonight. Best of luck on your trip and all of the interviews. Give them hell, and hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
Gates of Babylon, Dragon Lady of the Lake, Snake Venom Dream Section, Malachite, Purple Ion, House of Frankenstein, Violent Rain Rhymes, Medulla hold the flame, Athena in the sky, Diamond Sharp on the magic carpet, I fly, the man who laughs, wear a mask, 808 thump, make these bitches jump.